What it do, baby?
What it do, my people? Welcome to Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Oh, there's a little ad rolling on my end first, but welcome. This is the third different place that we've streamed in the last 3 weeks.
That's crazy.
First was we didn't stream there, but you were at your house.
Yes.
Then we were at my dad's house together. And now we were at your new apartment.
Yeah, my new apartment. We're gonna
Congratulations,
do a lot
sir.
More. Thank you. A lot more streams in here. We're gonna
Get a little bit better setup. Like, I don't have a couch yet. But once we have a couch,
Oh yeah, this is the most bootleg setup you'll ever see. Now, it's in a way the most professional because we actually have one of my professional lighting setup. Other one is a lamp. And if you look at the state of everything else, there's just wires and stuff thrown about because, you just moved in. So you would expect it to not be the finished product.
am I like really moved?
And the entire time, I'm going to be looking at you, but I'm also going to be looking at the crown peach in the background.
Dude.
Want to? Yo, imagine. That's how this stream will get off the rails from the beginning. What's up, Alex? How you doing, baby?
How we doing? Then run across the street to Bob G's and get some wings.
Yo.
$1 wing or $1 per wing, I think it is.
Was that what it was?
I think it's Mondays and Wednesdays.
Because there's a sports bar right across the street from here, and it used to be. I'm sure some of y'all are familiar with Brew's Room. That place is absolutely cheeks, right? But this dude took over what formerly was Brew's Room and turned into what's now called Bob G's. And food was pretty good, vibe was pretty good, owner was pretty cool, pretty chill place. Hey, advertising for our one viewer.
Yo, honestly.
Check out Bob G's. They don't pay us. Well, he gave me a free beer. He gave me a free beer.
He did give you a free beer.
Because
Offered me a free beer, but I
stupidly declined.
yes.
Stupidly declined.
I
So
didn't very well, so.
today got obviously most important game of our season to talk about. Dolphins Chiefs Saturday night. What could have been a home game if the Dolphins didn't suck. Yeah, it's just a reality of the situation. Talk about Tyreek going back to Kansas City for the first time. We're going to go over give you our list of the top 14 teams in the playoffs. Our power rankings. We have not looked at either of our teams yet, except the last place team, which spoiler alert, it's probably the Buccaneers for both of us, or who else? The Steelers. So we'll do that. We'll go over our predictions for the entire playoffs, including our Super Bowl. We're going to do that one together. Talk about all sorts of things that are relating to the game and just fun news, I don't know, Nick Saban retiring.
Dude.
Where did that come from? Well, that's not confirmed yet as he unplugs his microphone. That's not confirmed yet. We still don't quite know what that whole situation was with Pete Carroll. So you have, in one day, Pete Carroll let go as coach. They didn't fire him. They didn't. It was kind of like a mutual, but it was kind of worded weirdly by the media as to what's going to go on there. And then while everyone's talking about that, Nick Saban just decides, hey, guys, by the way, I'm done.
apparently my mic isn't working.
You can figure that out. Do you believe in Tua getting an extension? I guess we'll.
Yes.
If you can hear me, yes.
That's something we'll. Let's wait till we see how he performs in a playoff game in 0 degrees before I make that decision, and also to what that extension would be. But today was a pretty crazy day. He's gonna go check to make sure his microphone works. So you guys are just stuck with me. Just as for that question there for Tua, do I believe in him? Do I think he's gonna get an extension?
Yo.
I think he's going to get. I think how he's played this year, he's going to get an extension. The amount that extension is going to be concerns me, and is going to have to be a not team-friendly deal, but he's not going to get Mahomes. He's not going to get Hurts. He's not going to get that top dollar money. And if he does, I would rather us move on for Tua than give him $50 million a year.
That's
just the way that.
I don't care. I'd rather.
Daniel Jones just got 45.
Yeah, and you see how the state of the Giants are right now. How pissed they are that they gave him that contract. I don't want the Dolphins to be stuck in that situation.
Well, that's the thing. He had one good season. Tua's had at least 2 good seasons. And was Daniel Jones' season really that good enough to deserve him?
No, it was not. Last year, you had the injury concerns from last year, and this year you have he's lost almost every single time he's played against a good team. So I'm not sold. And also, we know the things we know the things he isn't. We know he's not going to win a game on carrying the team on his shoulders. He's not capable of doing that.
That's the thing. So we have a little disagreement about the end of that game. The second to last play of that game, Tua threw a jump ball to Tyreek, which I thought was absolutely stupid. You do too.
Yes.
But the next play, that was a designed, okay, you're going to throw it here.
No matter.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. You have other guys running routes.
That was a. Was it Taylor Rapp that?
No, that was Micah Hyde, I think.
Okay. I thought it was Rapp, but yeah, he came down.
Pretty sure it was Micah Hyde.
Whoever it was got hurt on that play, actually.
Yeah, they were down for a little bit, but they hyped the Buffalo crowd, which was
Yeah.
at least 50% of the stadium.
At least, and like honestly, Dolphins fans, I understand.
Stop selling your season tickets to other opposing teams' fans.
Yes, please.
I know you don't really have a choice because it's Ticketmaster. This, by the way, this is the second time, so I have 2 tickets right in my seats. I actually didn't even tell you this. I have 2 tickets this year, but it's just been me this year, and I brought a friend or my girlfriend for one of them. This is the second time that the person who bought my ticket didn't show up.
What?
I had an open seat next to me the entire game. Yeah, but look, you saw the stadium. Where else are you sitting? The entire stadium was full.
Yeah, but there's a lot. Like there was people that were like yelling at each other in my section. Either side.
Right. No, I didn't have that. What I did have was, and I think I told you about this after the game, I had a Bills fan sitting behind me, right? And, when you see a big play happen, you get up, you cheer a little bit, and it's not just me, it's like a sea, like it's like a wave coming up because like it starts in the front row and then goes all the way to the back, right? So Devon Achane ripped off a big run in like the first or second drive, whatever it was. And again, everybody stands up. And, you can't really tell by here, but I'm a large individual. I'm 6'6", so even when I stand up and the person behind me is standing up, I can still be blocking their view. But I stand up and the play happens, and then as I'm about to go sit down, this woman taps me on the shoulder, and she's like, "Hey, can you sit down?" I'm like, I look at her dead in the face. I'm like, "It was a big play. I'm gonna stand up for a big play. I'm not gonna be standing the entire game." And like I made a point to try to move over a little bit, like sometimes when I would stand up, because it's a big third down, the entire crowd stands up. But yeah, the first drive of the game. Like, so that just got me, like, in a mood already because everyone was already really anxious. It was, like, the drunkest I've ever seen that stadium. Like, everybody was intoxicated. Everybody was gone. Yeah. I remember we were walking in. I was like, where's the broken tables?
Exactly. I'm like, yo, y'all are slacking.
Y'all did not bring the white tables. I say y'all. No, probably no Bills fans watching it now, but they didn't bring down the white tables. I don't understand. But now, because we lost to them, instead of getting to play them again, we have to go up and over to Kansas City to negative degree temperatures in what is going to be the coldest Dolphins game in like probably 10 years.
It's going to be the coldest Dolphins game in history.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
The second
Jesus Christ.
This is
That's
supposed
cold.
to be- This is supposed to be -8, feels like. The other one feels like -6. Also in Kansas City.
It's the middle of the country. Like, how does it get that cold? I guess because it's that far away.
It's not that far from the Great Lakes, I don't think.
Jeez, greatest saying. One of us is super loud. Which one is that? Turn the game down. Hopefully it's not that bad.
Probably me.
Probably you. Hopefully you got it figured out. But like I said, we are going to Kansas City, and when you say Kansas City Chiefs, you say Miami Dolphins. The quickest connection is Tyreek Hill in his time that he used to play with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we got to see the reunion of them previously this season, but it was over in Germany. Not quite the same thing. You didn't quite get to see him return back to Arrowhead and see the reaction of the fans and him being welcomed back. Are they going to do a tribute? Are they going to do nothing at all? God knows. I don't know. We'll see. But it's been really interesting to watch the two of Mahomes and Tyreek Hill since they've left each other. They've both definitely gotten worse. Like one's gotten worse in terms of personal results, and one's gotten worse in terms of team results. I don't mean that Tyreek Hill's gotten better.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I was like, what?
Tyreek Hill's gotten better statistically, but he hasn't won a playoff game. And now going to Kansas City, at the very least, the odds are he's not going to win a playoff game this year. And Patrick Mahomes on the other side, he is just so miserable that he's currently without a single good wide receiver. He's solid. He's a 2, maybe. Maybe he becomes a 1, but he's not 1 right now.
Yeah, I mean, but what do you expect from what is he, a second-round receiver?
Something like that.
But like Sky Moore hasn't turned out into anything. MVS had like a few good flashes, but he's just been drop city central.
There's a storm that came down Missouri. We're getting hit in the Northeast too. So Mother Nature decided to make it more difficult. I mean, more difficult for the Dolphins certainly than the Chiefs, because I mean the Chiefs have played in this weather in their entire existence, and the Dolphins' offense is so predicated on the pass. Like, we use the pass to open up the run game, and this year the Chiefs have gone a lot more towards the rushing attack. Pacheco just fell just short of 1,000 yards, and that's definitely going to affect getting Tyreek Hill the ball. Patrick Mahomes, if you're going down a draft and you're drafting players in the NFL, like Patrick Mahomes is who you would take first. But just in terms of an athlete and of a playmaker, getting the ball in their hands, like, that's Tyreek Hill. He's the better overall weapon. But when you put him in this Dolphins offense, especially when this Dolphins offense doesn't have Jalen Waddle in it, and you just blanket him. I mean, even when they were playing zone, and like, I can see it better from my vantage point where I'm sitting than when you can. Like, when somebody would go in motion either to Tyreek's side, or especially if someone go away from Tyreek's side, that safety, like, he shift over the slightest. But if someone shifted over to Tyreek's side, he was basically lined up in double coverage over Tyreek Hill. You can't really do that to Patrick Mahomes. You can't really do that with a quarterback. You can't fully stop a quarterback, and teams are not stopping Tyreek Hill, but they're finding that way to slow him down within this offense.
Yeah, I mean, against the...
Not very, but I get what you're saying.
No, we're very successful.
Not very.
We're very successful.
We're sparingly successful. We can pick a big plays, but we don't, like, if it's either a big play or it's like 5 yards or less.
Every day.
Or less. Yeah, but that kind of like fake toss, throw the other way, like, it's had its moments, but our offense is so predicated on speed, whether it's the receiving game or the passing game. And so I've seen that our rushing attack breaks down more as the game goes on, whether that's just because we go away from it or that's because we're actually stopped. Like, it works well in the first couple quarters, but it's not like the Tennessee Titans giving the ball to Derrick Henry, or it's not like the Philadelphia Eagles run scheme where it's physical, it's wearing down the opposing team's defensive line, so therefore they blitz less. Like, no, the opposing team's defenses blitz more as the game goes on. But we've kind of gotten away from the conversation that I wanted to have in just point blank, who do you think right now is happier post breakup? All things considered, Patrick Mahomes, he won a Super Bowl, but this year you're the 3rd seed. You have the possibility of going on the road for the first time ever in the playoffs. Or do you think Tyreek Hill's happier, who he's got the personal accolades up there, he potentially could get Offensive Player of the Year. He's got his $30 million that he wanted, but now he's on a worse team in a worse situation. Who do you think post breakup today is happier, given what happened? Yeah, it's got like 3 a game or something stupid.
Better division.
But they have a home playoff game right now.
They do. We fumbled that away.
Opportunity and having are very different.
Mechanical asphyxia, as Benjamin Rand might say.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I think both of them are pretty miserable right now for different reasons. Just in this exact moment. And I'm talking relative. They're both millionaires. They're both set their family up forever. Like, I'm not talking big picture. I'm talking like Tyreek is physically beat up. Like, he's been hurt for a month now. On top of just he has an ankle injury, but football's a physical sport. Like, so either way, even if it wasn't that, like, I'm sure his body hurts in general. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is on the field. He's dealing with the wide receiver issues. He's dealing with the drops. He's dealing with just inconsistencies, and he's dealing with stuff that he's never ever had to experience with Kansas City. Like, every single year, he's either had the number 1 seed or fought for the number 1 seed all the way into the last game of the season. Like, he's never played on the road. So having to face these difficulties is a large, in part because of the fact he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. So I think both of them in a way have gotten what they've wanted. Patrick Mahomes got another Super Bowl, even if it wasn't, as easy. And now this year it's harder. And Tyreek Hill has gotten some of the personal fame. Tyreek Hill's gotten the money. Tyreek Hill's gotten that number 1 spot. He's the best player on the Miami Dolphins. So he's gotten that recognition. He's gotten that money. He's still on a playoff team. 2 years that he's been with the Dolphins, 2 years that he's made the playoffs. Now it's just on the team for the Dolphins to go on and win a playoff game and really make it worth for him that he's come here. You got some issues with your mic, maybe? Yes or no?
I think I fixed it. So the plug on the bottom keeps getting a little, like, it unplugs a little bit. So, like, the light still stays on. So I'm guessing that it's still technically on, but the sound cuts out. So I'm kind of just like holding it in there now.
I think that was actually one of the benefits of having that thing screwed in, is it kind of like bent it into place.
Yeah. Well, it's a solid, like, extra 5 pounds that I'm holding the entire time.
That's some forearm strength right there, bud.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get new mics for the next stream, but
Especially since you're left hand, you probably need to even out the right hand getting work most of the time, if you know what I'm saying. So what we're gonna do now is which one should we do first? Should we give our rankings first, or should we I think we should do our rankings first. So we just talked about the Dolphins, and obviously this is gonna be mostly about the Dolphins, but we're about to have Super Wildcard Weekend, and there's 14 teams in it. And I thought just blindly rank these two teams. We haven't looked at each other's list yet. So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? We're not going to go 14, 14, 13, 13. Like, give your list. We'll try to not interject too much during it because I feel like there's going to be some disagreements.
There's going to be some disagreements for sure.
So I'm going to let, I'm going to give you the floor first. It's your house. You go ahead first.
All right. The 14th best team, the worst team in the playoffs. I think we both agree on this. It's the Steelers. The Steelers are the worst team in the playoffs. To me, you have quarterback questions, offensive coordinator questions. Like, they've gotten a little bit better, but like how much better?
We know the bottom two teams.
The bottom two teams. Bucks are the next one. Worst division in NFL history.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles should not be a head coach, yet he won the division 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Let's go through the list, and then we'll argue and break down amongst each other. You can give little anecdotals, but it's going to be a long video if you do
it.
Because we have another one to get through.
At number 12, I have the Packers. Defense just sucks. Rams, after that, I think they have a little bit better of an offense than the Packers. A little bit worse of a defense than the Packers, but I think the offense just can't.
Through 14.
That's
now we're getting into your top 10.
Top 10. 10th, Eagles.
Yeah.
They've just been on a spiral lately, but, they still have the talent on the roster. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in football, even though he dislocated his middle finger very nastily, I might add.
We'll see how that affects him.
He came back in that game, but, as we know, it hurts much more the next day and even 2 days after. After that, Texans, very young team. No one has really been in that position before. Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, Nico Collins, second-year receiver, I believe. Noah Brown's been there with the Cowboys, but he choked it, and he's not even going to play. Just everywhere on there, just super young, super inexperienced. After that, I have the Lions. Very similar.
Wow, that was really low.
Yeah, well, I was debating this. Like, I love the Lions. Don't get me wrong. Their offense is great. I have some serious questions about their defense. After that, I do have the Chiefs.
Where are we in this rankings, by the way? Like, is this like 6, 7? Where are we at?
So we are currently 10, 9, 8. So Chiefs are 7.
Okay, 6.
6 is the Cowboys. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns. Can you really disagree with that?
No, that's. I'm gonna bite my tongue.
Cleveland Browns. I mean, just the way that they're going right now. Number 4, I have the Dolphins. Obviously, dealing with lots of injuries, but I think we can pull through and beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. We'll see how that goes. Number 3, I do have the Buffalo Bills. Just beat us. Can't put us above them, unfortunately. 49ers, I have at 2. And then number 1, I don't think this is really a question. They beat every single team in the top 5. The Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so our top 3, we got some agreements there. So bottom of the barrel, I actually have the Buccaneers in last place. Fair enough. They've just looked terrible the last couple weeks. And they scored 9 points against the Panthers. They didn't score a single touchdown.
So the Panthers actually have the 4th overall defense. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But still, they're the Carolina Panthers. Then I have the Steelers. So bottom 2 teams, Steelers. So that's 14-13. At 12, I have the Houston Texans. Young, inexperienced. They could beat the Browns. They're at home, but we'll see. Liz, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. 11, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, they're just completely going in the wrong direction. Being down 24-0 against the Giants, you cannot really excuse that. So now to the top 10. Number 10, I have the Green Bay Packers. Very young team. I didn't even know that ads could play during a YouTube live stream.
We can play ads during a YouTube live stream?
I had no idea. So, that's interesting.
Well, we'll wait for the ad to finish.
No, I think it's just
appreciate y'all.
It's just going to pick up right where they are. So I think it's just going to delay the stream a little bit. Either way, we're back one way or another. So number 10, the Green Bay Packers. Number 9, Miami Dolphins.
I hate this, man.
Dude, all the teams above us, I trust more for various reasons. We have not proven we can beat a great team convincingly. Even if we beat the Dallas Cowboys, we limped over the finish line there. So look, I'm a realist. Like, call me a pessimist, call me a realist. I like to think I'm a realist. Sometimes, shut up. I know I can be pessimistic. I
wasn't gonna say that. I was just gonna point out that in every loss that we've had, it's been
good teams.
It was good teams, but it's not anything that they did relatively well. It's just that we beat ourselves.
You can try to justify that.
It is,
and team that loses a game.
100%. We haven't been able to get over the hump and beat good teams because we keep beating ourselves.
Well,
so I'll just leave that there.
As much as I don't like that we're there, I do think we're the 9th best team, followed by shortly by it'd be a really close game. And we talked about how we didn't want to play them. The Cleveland Browns, like top 3 defense in the NFL right now. Joe Flacco looks so comfortable with that offensive line. They don't have Nick Chubb, but the running game, weirdly enough, looks really good. A team that I want to put higher that I've been in love with recently at 10, 9, 8, at number 7, the Los Angeles Rams. Just straight up, if we play them right now, I think they'd win. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach, Super Bowl winning quarterback. You have a Triple Crown winning wide receiver who hasn't really lost a step despite injury issues earlier on in the season. You have Puka Nacua, who broke both rookie records. Kyron Williams, who is looking like the next Todd Gurley. That offense, you could argue the offense is better than us because they have an identity that they know works. We are still trying to figure some things out. So I love the Rams. I want to put them higher. I have them just behind the Kansas City Chiefs, and I really, really wanted to put them above the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they'll probably find a way to make it work and win at least one playoff game at our expense. Getting to the top 5, I do have the Detroit Lions. Yes, the secondary is definitely something that I'm concerned about. And when we get to the playoff predictor, I might have the Rams winning. We'll see. But, when you look at their offense, Ben Johnson, like that offense is really good in multiple aspects. Number 4, Dallas Cowboys. Them and the Bills. It's really close. I know the Bills destroyed them, but it felt like kind of fluky. The weather was kind of odd. So I got the Cowboys and then the Bills. I've said it for like a month that I think the Buffalo Bills are a top 5 team in this league, and you did not want to believe me. And we've gotten to see that unfold over the last 4 games of the season.
Josh Allen is either the best quarterback in the NFL or the worst quarterback in the NFL, and there's literally not an in-between.
But that post you sent me yesterday of Dan Orlovsky talking, look, I don't care how many times he turns the ball over. He makes plays happen. He wins games. And in the biggest game of the Bills season, he threw for 350 yards and got the win. Albeit, he had 3 turnovers, but he just still.
He somehow finished with a 101 passer rating. He had 3 turnovers and finished with a 101 passer rating.
He's that good.
By the way, the Dan Orlovsky video that he's talking about, Dan Orlovsky went over the past 3 or 4 years, all of the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks and where they ranked in interceptions, and all of them were the top 3 in interceptions in the league that year.
Yeah. And then the next 2 teams, we have the same top 3 teams.
Yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers and then the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens literally have beaten every single team in the top 5. I think they in my top 5 at least. They beat the Browns, they beat us.
Yeah. They don't really
beat the Bills, 49ers, yeah.
They're the best team in football. So what I want to do now is go over our playoff predictor. And in case you wonder, I guess you can see it slightly here. I have my laptop here. I thought y'all couldn't see this. It'd be kind of weird if I was just leaning forward and y'all didn't really know what I was doing. So we're going to start in the AFC. Wildcard weekend. We got Pittsburgh Steelers going to Buffalo Bills. And I think that's just absolutely no question. This is the blowout game of the week.
Yeah. I know me and you are both hoping, and not really because we don't want to play the Bills. It's mostly because we don't want to. If we win, I also don't want to play the Ravens in round 2. I want to avoid the Ravens. I'd rather play in that situation. If the Steelers and the Dolphins both win, we would play the winner of the Browns and Texans.
Yeah, but we want the Steelers to win. But in no real world do we think it's
Yeah, you know how there's always one blowout per wild card round? Everybody's predicting that to be the blowout. Bills at home in that weather.
Yeah. So Dolphins, Chiefs.
We're on opposite sides of this.
We are on opposite sides of this.
We'll get to that more in the preview.
Which one do we want to go with though? Just for
Okay. If you had to pick...
we both have the Chiefs ahead in the rankings. I feel like we have to go with the Chiefs here. We both have the Chiefs ahead.
I don't have the Chiefs ahead in the rankings. I have the Dolphins at 4.
You have them above the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Oh, dear God. I wasn't even really listening enough. Wait, how
the
many?
Chiefs,
What's the difference in spots between the Dolphins and Chiefs in your rankings? That's what we'll go by.
Okay, fair enough. Dolphins I have at 4. Chiefs I have at 7.
Dang, it's like the same exact difference. Rock, paper, scissors. That's what we're down to. All right, one out of one right here. Rock, paper, scissors. 1 out of 1. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Fuck. Let's go, Chiefs. Oh yeah, we're going with the Chiefs there. Browns and Texans. Like, it's a good story that the Texans continue to win, but the Browns are just on a electric pace.
I think we're both picking the Browns here. Yeah.
Top 3 defense in the league, coach of the year.
We both have the Browns ahead in the rankings
So
anyway.
now set up a spicy divisional round matchup with the Browns and the Ravens, the Chiefs and the Bills. So let's just go down.
Dude, that is the NFL script.
That is the NFL script.
That is the NFL script.
So Browns at Ravens. They've already beat them there once this year in Baltimore. Do you think they can do it twice?
Who they have at quarterback last time?
Deshaun Watson.
Fuck it, let's do it.
No. Ravens.
No. Because hear me out.
Ravens are done.
Hear me out. I think the Ravens are gonna win. NFL script.
No.
I texted you this.
No such thing as the NFL script.
I
buy into jokes. I don't buy into this being
trust me. I think it's a joke too. But like, think about the NFL script for a sec. The Chiefs hosting what would be their 5th or 6th. The Chiefs hosting an AFC Championship game as a 3 seed.
I don't think that's actually going to happen. I don't believe in NFL scripting.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No. We're going with the Ravens because this is
This man's scared of a rematch.
Better team. Chiefs, Bills. More physical team. Playing this year wise, better quarterback this year, better wide receiver. You have 2 good tight ends versus how Travis Kelce's
To me, it depends if Gabe Davis is back. No, because look, as much as we love to make fun of Tony Romo and big game Gabe, he in the playoffs he's been one of the best receivers. And you know how much I hate to say that. In the playoffs, he's been one of the best receivers.
It was just that one game.
He's had a few. His playoff statistics are pretty good. If Gabe Davis doesn't play, I got the Chiefs.
Generally speaking,
but it's also who has the better.
It's in Buffalo. Defenses are
better coach, better quarterback.
I think the Buffalo Bills finally get it done. I think who's Mahomes going to throw it to? We just saw them lose to the Raiders when Aiden O'Connell had 60 passing yards all in the first quarter. And you're the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. He might get 62 rushing yards in the first quarter himself.
But yet you think the Dolphins are going to lose?
Yes, I do. That's how beat up and how down bad I am as a Dolphins fan. And that comes down to the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game.
Come on.
I mean, I don't think it's as come on as making it out to be, but I think just Ravens.
No, they're going to stomp the living crap out of anybody that they face unless it's the Browns. I think I honestly swear to God to you, I think the Browns are the only team that can beat them in the playoffs.
I think they do have the best chances. Familiarity.
I would say the Steelers, but the Steelers don't have T.J. Watt for at least the next 2 weeks.
Like, I think we may have even disrespected the Browns a little bit in our rankings. I mean, you didn't have them in the top 10, did you?
I had them at 5.
Oh, just kidding. Never mind. We didn't disrespect them. We actually properly ranked them.
Probably ranked, yeah.
So that means we have the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. Now the NFC, this could go a lot of ways. I think the AFC is a little finer to predict, whereas this is so expansive and so many storylines with both teams. And we're starting it off with the Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys. Like, look, Green Bay Packers have beaten the Dallas Cowboys 9 out of the last 10 times they played them. But this is a different Green Bay Packers team. This is Jordan Love's first time in the playoffs. This is pretty much their entire offense is outside of the running backs. It's like a lot. They have all their skill position players. It's their first time. All their receivers specifically and tight ends. All their receivers and tight ends is their first time in the playoffs. I really like the Cowboys this year. Like, I don't see that as I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I really like them to go far this year. I'm going to go with Dallas Cowboys.
Give me the Packers.
I swear to God, if you drop my microphone, I'm going to kill you. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. Also, I have the laptop, so I get the rules. Now, the most exciting game of Wildcard Weekend.
So this is funny.
We're talking about the Rams and the Lions here, for the record.
Yes, Rams and Lions. It's funny because because I picked the 49ers to win in the
Pick'ems. We have a Pick'ems amongst
Weekly pick'ems.
weekly Pick'ems, and I actually picked the 49ers to beat the Rams, but I ended up finding myself rooting for the Rams just because I wanted them to play the 49ers.
Dude.
And it ended up happening.
Dude. I think the Rams are gonna win.
Rams
Rams
are
are
winning.
gonna win. I think they're that good.
I do
think
too.
they're-
I
I'm
think
afraid to
I
play the
think
Rams.
and plus their
After the
offense
second round.
their offense got a whole week to get healthier. Kyren didn't play, Stafford didn't play, Cooper Kupp didn't play.
Lord knows he needs it recently.
Aaron Donald didn't play. Aaron Donald, look, that defense is bad, but Aaron Donald still is one of the best defensive tackles in football.
Joshua, NFL scripting is not real. It's a fun story to talk about. It's not. Now maybe some referee calls. They're maybe hey, if you could just pass interference on that maybe.
So
But
the thing is so
I don't buy it.
Like the scripting, they do it in the NBA as well. They tell them to call certain things certain ways in certain games. I do think that there's a certain extent to how scripting is real, but it's not really real. There's only so much a referee can affect a game.
So, I think you guys are going to love this. I think you're going to love this. I know you've heard me say this before. My biggest argument against why scripting isn't real is we found out that Bill Clinton was getting his penis sucked under the White House desk. All right? Reality of the situation. If that comes out, if that can come out, we would know. All right? The moon landing. All right? You have 3,000 people saying the moon landing's fake. Not one person from NASA said the moon landing's fake. All right? It probably happened. All right? You're telling me not one player or one referee has come out and said that? We know with Donaghy in the NBA, they said hey, call this, or the referees amongst themselves.
NFL refs have come out.
But not.
NFL, they've said that in their scouting reports they tell them to call certain games certain ways.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, there's only so much you can do
They
to
don't
actually.
they don't say, hey, favor the Chiefs this game. I don't think they do.
I don't think that they do, but they probably say, hey, in this situation, let them play, or in this situation, throw a flag.
See, where I look at it is they're going to make so much money regardless that they don't really need to script games. NBA, you don't want to see the Jazz in the finals, right? In NFL, what was the worst case recent scenario the Super Bowl could have been? The Jaguars Vikings 6 or 7 years ago, just in terms of the NFL, where you're going to have Blake Bortles go against Case Keenum. That maybe you could have been all right, guys, we need the Patriots and the Eagles to win this. That's enough of our rambling. The worst game of the weekend, Eagles Bucks. Somebody has to win, unfortunately.
It's funny. It's funny because the Eagles are heavily favored, and I would probably take the.
I'll let you pick this one. I'm going with the Eagles though.
I'm going with the Eagles. However, I would probably take the Bucks. Whatever their plus, because I think they're I think it's Eagles by minus 8.5 or something stupid like that.
I would have said
I would probably take the Bucks on that. That's not money line. What is that called? Score line?
Wait, what are you talking about?
In betting, what is?
When you get the plus?
Yeah.
That's
to cover.
Yeah.
I'll probably pick the Bucks to cover.
And then in the NFC divisional, we have two. Is this the same scenario from last year? Or do the Cowboys play the Niners?
I don't think.
Oh, the Rams didn't make the playoffs last year.
The Rams didn't make the playoffs.
So we
Who do
have
the Rams
we
play in
have the
divisional
Rams.
round?
If this how we have it marketed here comes to be, we have the Rams versus Niners and the Cowboys versus Eagles. Let's start with the easier one, the Cowboys and the Eagles. I mean, Cowboys by 100 in that game. Although divisional opponent, kind of similar to talking about the Browns and the Ravens. If there's somebody that's going to beat the Cowboys in this scenario, you kind of feel good about beating the Eagles, but they're just going in the wrong direction so quickly and have so many injuries. If AJ Brown doesn't play, what does this Eagles offense look like?
Give me the Eagles. Honestly, once it's very very similar scenario as to the AFC. Eagles, 49ers rematch. Do the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl because they actually have a quarterback?
No, I'm going with Cowboys. And the people at home, when watching this back, if you're not watching this live stream, if you're watching this as a video, you'll see on the screen that I picked the Cowboys because that's the right answer. Rams Niners.
Come on. No.
Matt Stafford versus Brock Purdy.
No.
Matt Stafford versus Brock Purdy.
Okay, look. The 49ers offense can compete with absolutely anybody at any time.
Matt
And
Stafford versus Brock Purdy.
dog, I understand. Give me the 49ers, God damn it. Look, it doesn't matter that it's Brock Purdy. That offense is so elite. Like, even if it's Elijah Mitchell in that game, which it probably won't be, it's going to be CMC.
He'll be healthy enough by then.
Yeah, CMC is going to be healthy enough in that game. CMC, Debo, Ayuk, Purdy, even throw Sam Darnold in there, and I trust him enough to win that game.
I've given myself the benefit of the doubt on these. I really want to pick the Rams, but I'm not convicted enough to override you on this one. We'll go with the Niners. So that means we're ultimately down to
Give me the 49ers.
1-2 versus 1-2.
Give me the 49ers.
I'm going Cowboys.
Dog, there's
I'm going
no
Cowboys.
shot.
I said the chat.
Have you
I
seen?
said the chat that my Super Bowl was Cowboys versus Ravens. One way.
Have you seen the Cowboys on the road this season?
Don't care. Brock Purdy's going to tear
No.
it again.
Dog,
They're going to find a way to
no.
lose. I do not believe in Brock Purdy. Whether they get to the Super Bowl or not, I don't believe in Brock Purdy to have 3 good enough games in a row to beat.
I don't trust
teams.
Dak to have 3 good enough games in a row.
You're still way behind on this narrative, dog. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's better than Tua. Said it. He's better than Tua.
This man's delusional.
Dude, you're on an island by yourself in most of your beliefs. All right, you don't get the benefit of the doubt.
Dog, the 49ers over the Cowboys by a... Dude, they played earlier this year in...
Different
No,
game.
and no.
Different game.
No, don't give me that. Dog,
I'm picking the Cowboys, but for his sake, we'll go with the 49ers so he stops having a heart attack. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we'll pick the Ravens.
Yeah,
Ravens winner, Super Bowl winner.
I don't think there's any argument against that.
I don't think
Like I said, the only team in the entire playoffs that can knock off the Ravens is the Browns. I would maybe say the Steelers if it weren't for T.J. Watt tearing his MCL.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a grade 2 sprain, but still technically a tear.
Partial tear.
It's a partial tear.
That's my ankle.
But he's not going to be able to come back.
I want to do it one more time.
He's not going to be able to come back to at least the 3rd round of the playoffs.
You mean next year? They're not winning. They're not beating the Steelers with the Bills in Buffalo with Mason Rudolph. That's not happening.
Look, I don't necessarily disagree, but like I was saying, timeline-wise, yeah, I just had to roll my eyes because you had to be a smartass.
I always am. You should know this by now.
I should have rolled up a couple of balls of paper just so I could throw at you during this live stream.
Dak Prescott's better than Tua. All right.
So this is why I want to throw shit at him.
All right. So we talked earlier about weather and how this is going to be, potentially the coldest game in Dolphins history if the weather reports are accurate, and it ends up being like the actual temperature is like 0 or -2, but the feels like temperature could be, all the way down to -10. There's storms like, somebody earlier. What's up, Liz? Yep. In the new crib. I'm actually happy that you can actually comment on this instead of texting me. We were talking about the weather and all that about how it's going to be the coldest game in Dolphins history potentially. Someone earlier in the chat said that it's storming there in Kansas City, and let's just say the Dolphins don't do great in recent times in cold weather. Would you say you said Tua is 0 for 5 in games below 40 degrees?
I forgot the exact statistic, but I remember it being in cold games. He's 0 for 5 with like a 55 passer rating. I think his touchdown interception ratio is bad, like 3-5 or 4-5, something like that.
So we've had the Bills game last year up there. Do we have any of this? Tennessee that could have gotten us into the playoffs. Effectively fired Brian Flores.
I think most of them were in the Brian Flores era.
Because I can't think of.
Was
the Eagles game this year that cold?
Eagles was.
It wasn't that cold.
No.
It may have been, but probably not.
It was November when we played them, I think.
Whatever it was. I think it was October. But whatever it was, this team does not do good in cold weather. All right? And it makes sense when you look at the breakdown of this team. You have a quarterback who's not that mobile with, while his arm strength's definitely gotten better, definitely one of the weaker arms in the NFL. That this offense predicates on speed, being able to hit players in stride, to be able to know where Tua is so reliant on ball placement and accuracy, which he does to a superb level. But when the wind's going, when it's a little colder, when the air pressure is a little differently, those little things, those inches that the ball could be off a little bit, make a big difference. I mean, you see some of the windows that Tua throws into, especially specifically to Tyreek Hill, where there's like a box of 4 defenders, and the ball is placed exactly where Tyreek Hill and Tyreek Hill alone can even touch the ball. Like, those few inches matter a lot. Up, down, left, right. That's the difference between an interception, or that's the difference between Tyreek Hill potentially catching it and going down, or Tyreek Hill catching it for a touchdown. Look, you're a professional athlete. You're being paid. Some of these guys are being paid tens of millions of dollars, massive contracts, and it's your responsibility to figure out how to play in weather. But I mean, this is about as worst case scenario as you can imagine for the Dolphins going into Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Just the amount of players that were down, and I hate using the injury excuse every single time. It comes up in the comments. I'm always like, look, I don't use injuries as an excuse. I absolutely hate it, but there was literally no next man up at the end of that game. Literally, we went in with 5 pass rushers, Baker being our 5th, technically speaking, and we lost 3 pass rushers in that game. And we had Melvin Ingram, who was on the practice squad. So we literally had one on the active roster, which was Emmanuel Ogbah.
Yeah, and he was a healthy scratch 2 weeks ago.
So, yeah, not ideal situation. So now we signed, 3 or 4 guys?
Just plug them in and fingers crossed that they work.
All of them 34 years old, ironically enough.
Uh-huh.
We brought Melvin Ingram up from the practice squad, and to replace him on the practice squad, we signed Malik Reed, who we actually had in camp earlier this year before we let him go.
Completely forgot about that until this exact moment that you mentioned that.
Then we signed Justin Houston and Bruce Irvin, who both spent time with the Lions, ironically enough, earlier this year, to the active roster as well. So at least they've had some football this year. All of them at some point. Melvin Ingram didn't have anything until he came in early December.
How is this affecting the weather?
I thought we were talking about pass rushers.
No, we're talking, bro. What?
I was looking up to a stat in the cold.
I was really waiting for him. Like, how is he connecting this to the weather? And it just never.
So, yeah. Well, anyways, back to the weather. Completely off base. I was like half listening because I was trying to look up the stats for Tua in the cold.
Joshua B says, just give the ball to Tyreek. Everyone else will be in slow motion that cold. I mean, Tyreek too first of all, he has the injury, so like he's already a little bit.
So we talked about that a little bit earlier. Yeah.
The cold affects him too.
So we talked about this before the stream, like way before the stream actually. The thing about the cold is everything hurts more. And with the amount of injuries that we have and all the injuries that guys are playing through, they're going to be hurting during this game. Like, yeah, your adrenaline's going, but it has to be really going. Like, there's going to be some spots that, especially with how this defense plays, like we see how this defense, very, very bend, don't break. Like, we gave up over 400 yards of offense to the Buffalo Bills, and they only scored 14 offensive points. Like, when I say that we're extremely bend, don't break, and they put together some long-ass drives, our guys are going to be sitting on the bench getting cold and hurting, and they're going to have to find ways to stay warm on the sideline. And I don't even necessarily mean, like, put a jacket on. I mean, like, go on the bike, have Tua be throwing, like, 5 minutes before before they even go out on the field. Like, they need to make sure that they don't get cold to the slightest during the game, because it's going to start hurting a lot, and then that could potentially, like I said, Tyreek had to come out in that second to last play, and look what happened on the very next play that he wasn't out there for, in his route.
Yeah, I mean, just a little something about the cold. Like, there are some like substances that they rub on their body. Like, if you guys listen to the Raw Room podcast with Darren Bates, like they talk about like how they get like this just unholy mixture of like, it's like icy hot minus the ice. I forget what it's called. And like this other stuff, they mix it in this like red Solo cup, and like they have to figure out like the perfect timing to lather their exposed skin with it. and then put their their long sleeve on, or not long sleeve at all. They have to time it perfectly that they don't like start burning up in the locker room, and also don't walk out there and get freezing cold anyways. And like they gotta be really careful like the areas they put it in, because it works. Like I've never used it, but just like hearing former players talking about it, and these are like grown men athletes who have endured a lot of stuff. Like it works in the wrong ways too.
Yeah, I've also heard people like they'll put on like the diving suits, but they end up having to like replace it after each quarter or something, because it doesn't allow the sweat to escape. Yeah. So you're just kind of like
just drenched in your
and it can get pretty bad for like health wise, and it can actually dehydrate you, and something like that. I think it was said that they get too warm. And
I mean, and Josh, you said like it'll be cold, but it won't be cold like you and I standing out there. They get things available to us, including like clothes and gear. Like once it hits a certain temperature, it almost doesn't matter what you're wearing. Like they get those massive coats that while they're sitting there, like yeah, that's nice. But when you're out there playing the game, it's just you and Mother Nature. It's just you and God. All right, you're walking out there, it's 0 degrees, the wind's spiraling. There's snow going on. You might have the crap on your arms and stuff, but you still feel the cold. And this offense is just so predicated on speed that those split-second differences, that the cold affecting you, the knees are a little slower, the ankles a little slower. To his shoulder, like, we know he hurt his shoulder. Like, that's probably still affecting him. All these little things, I mean, it can't help but concern you. There is very big reason to concern, but, besides the record that we've seen for us in the cold weather, like, it's just what we know about this team that I don't feel great about facing this cold.
So one thing so I was trying to look up Tua's stats in the cold that I saw earlier, and I found Tua's stats for last year versus Buffalo, the game that he actually played with the snowballs and everything. He was 17 of 30 for 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 104 passer rating. That was in, I believe, 16-degree weather with snowballs being thrown at the back of their heads throughout the game.
Not that they weren't on the field.
I mean, so I think Tyreek or Waddle in the corner of the end zone as they were trying to catch the ball were getting pelted by snowballs.
Yeah, that did happen one time. How many yards did you say it was?
I
think you said 230?
234.
A lot of that was on that long Jalen Waddle touchdown. I think like 70 of that was on that individual play.
Yeah, and 17 of 30. I'm not really happy with that part.
And when the snow started coming down, when the weather started really getting bad in the fourth quarter, like his game dropped. Like he gave up a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter.
But that's the thing. Is it going to be snowing? Because they have the blizzard now. But the blizzard's supposed to be gone by Saturday, and I haven't seen any reports of snow. I've seen reports of just it being cold as fuck.
Gone by Saturday, or Saturday's the last day?
Gone by Saturday.
I mean, we hope so, because this is about as worst case scenario for the Dolphins. Something we talked about is that the injuries when you're out there in the cold, and something we didn't mention in that is the Dolphins' decision to stay back down here for a few more days because of guys needing treatment and stuff like that. I think just let them stay. It's not warm here. It's for those of you who aren't living down here in South Florida, you're about to like roll your eyes heavily at what I'm about to say. It's 70 degrees. It's not warm. It's very comfortable.
I think right now yesterday it was like 75 the whole day, and then today it was like 69, 71 the whole
right
day.
Now it's like exactly
I believe it's probably about like 60 degrees outside right now.
No, it's not that cold. I mean, you're on your phone. Check it right now. Like it's bottom line, compared to Kansas City, this is like Aruba, Hawaii, like name your tropical destination. This is like Brazil compared to the Kansas City right now. And the decision to do that is partially because you just had 66 degrees, so somewhere in between where we were talking about. The decision to do that is because they have to have people heal in general regardless of the weather. And also it's, you're not going to adjust. You're not going to, just 4 days spending in Kansas City is not going to make the difference of being able to adjust to the weather, especially with the snowstorm over there. Like, you're not even really going to be able to practice unless you find an indoor facility. So they're staying down here in Miami, and I think that's ultimately the right decision. But we were talking about some injuries, and the list is not as long as it was last week, but we did have a few guys that we lost for the season: Andrew Van Ginkel, Cameron Good, and Jerome Baker. But the Miami Dolphins injury list goes as follows, starting off with the do not practices: Deshaun Elliott and Javon Holland and Xavier Howard. So all secondary players are starting to safeties, notably, as well as Xavier Howard, all three of which you're probably going to be going into the game without.
Yeah, Xavier Howard is all but ruled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact quote, I believe, was, "I don't see a scenario in which he plays this game." As far as Holland goes, I talked to you a little bit earlier. He took himself out of the Bills game.
He's not right.
He's not right. He said his knees were hurting, and he talked about how if he doesn't get completely right, it could turn into a major injury. So it doesn't sound like it's fully healed at all. I don't see him playing this game. I can actually see him missing the next 2 games at least. 2 sprained MCLs. We never really got.
He came back before he was fully healthy.
Yeah, and I mentioned that he looked like he played slow in the Ravens game, and then last game he looked a little bit better, but he only played 15 snaps.
Yeah, and
something like that.
Xavier Howard got hurt in the first quarter against the Ravens. He got carted off early in that game, and he did not participate in practice all of last week, and he still gets to practice so far this week.
I told you. I mean, you didn't watch the Hard Knocks, but I did. And if you followed the Hard Knocks Twitter last night, Xavier Howard has a cast on his foot. In that,
not ideal.
Not ideal. In Hard Knocks, not Hard Rock. However, that is last week, so maybe it's off this week. I doubt it. They didn't say exactly what his injury was. They just said it was a foot injury. They didn't say if it was a broken bone. Now, we did get word that Jerome Baker's injury was a dislocated bone in his wrist. Ouch.
Yeah.
He did have surgery.
He was in a lot of pain on the field when it happened.
Yeah, so he actually hurt it in the first half, and
it re-aggravated in the second.
He didn't re-aggravate it. It just, he had it taped up. It was actually funny. Duke Riley went, "Tape that shit up." And he taped it up, and then he tried to make a tackle on Josh Allen on a critical 3rd and 13. Did not make that tackle.
And then dropped to a knee in pain.
Yes, and then he came out, and then we just knew that he was done. After that, he went and got an X-ray.
So he's done for the season, and those 3 guys, Deshaun, Javon, and Xavier, are all probably out. And then the rest of these guys on the list are limited. Notably, Tua is no longer on the injury list, but you got to think that shoulder is still bugging him at least a little bit because, little aches and pains that you deal with as a pro athlete. But the rest of these guys were all limited Tuesday and to the day of recording today, which is Wednesday. Devon Achane, Teron Armstead, your brother Liam Eichenberg, Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Ramsey, and Jalen Waddle. I didn't see any, and I've told you that this throughout last week, and then kind of feel the same this week. If we have them, I kind of see it as benefits, but or bonuses. But you were so optimistic about Waddle and Mostert playing, or Waddle the last 2 weeks, and then Mostert also last week. Well, let me finish. You said it was a solid 50-50, and the entire world was trying to tell you there's literally zero chance. But going into this game, do you really think it's been enough for both of them to be good enough to play?
So from what I'm hearing,
both of them want to play. See, based off what you've said the last 2 weeks, I have a hard time believing you. He said you have to adjust the wire again, by the way. Joshua just said that. I'm looking up Jalen Waddle injury news, see if there's any actual update other than just you yapping.
Not trust.
Jalen Waddle, maybe I should have done this before we started. Jalen Waddle injury update. Most recent one was 16 hours ago. This is by Sportskeeda. Jeez, what a reliable source. You limited in practice. Okay, nothing really reliable. We haven't really heard from like reporters or even from Mike McDaniel himself as to how likely he is to be out there. With him and Mostert, I've said it the last few weeks. Look, if they play, it's a bonus. However, I don't feel particularly great about them.
No, I feel great. I don't feel great about Mostert playing. Like I said, I'm like 40. I dropped down because I was like 70% sure last week that he would play. He ended up not playing, but I am 40% sure that he's going to play. Like I said, I don't feel good about it. Waddle, though, I feel great about. They both were limited, I believe, yesterday and today. Mostert did talk about, though, the challenges of, trying to get back to the field. They were both held out because they weren't medically cleared last week because they had a high chance of re-aggravation. That's the reason that they were held out. So I think at this point, in Kansas City, I think they take the chance of, like, even if they re-aggravate it and miss them for the playoffs, like, this is a win and keep going, lose and out scenario. It's not like, the last couple of weeks where you were in the playoffs regardless of the fact.
Yeah. And then going over the Kansas City Chiefs injuries, Wanya Morris is the only did not participate for today. Most of the rest of these were full participants. The only limited participants were Justin Ross, who sucks anyways, Donovan Smith, your other brother on the offensive line, and then the ugliest human being possibly in the NFL, Kadarius Toney. And honestly, the Chiefs might hope he doesn't play. like, please don't screw anything up.
But I mean, who would you rather have, Justin Ross, Justin Watson, or Kadarius Toney?
Aaron Hernandez at this point.
Honestly, Watson ain't that bad, but I'm with you on I actually want Kadarius Toney to miss the game. Like, even though Watson is more sure-handed, Kadarius Toney, once he does have the ball in his hands, is very dangerous.
It's just that issue of just doing this.
Actually getting the ball in his hands, yes.
And then we have L'Jarius Sneed, Nick Bolton, Deion Bush, Chamari Connor, Noah Gray, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashee Rice. Obviously, both those are pretty important, but both are full participants. Jawan Taylor, MVS, and Jalen Watson. Almost everybody on that field, potentially on the field for the Chiefs, was full participants. So not as much of an injury concern for the Chiefs as it is for the Dolphins. Are the Chiefs beat up too, or they just have their whole team? Basically their whole team. Imagine being kickers. The football is going to be like kicking a brick. Yes, that is. That is going to suck.
Yeah, honestly.
Their kicker, Harrison Butker, he's been doing it in the playoffs and has made many clutch kicks, but hasn't quite been this cold. And Jason Sanders, has he ever kicked a field goal in weather this cold? Like, I know Tua is 0-5, but
he has. The Bills game in the playoffs last year.
He kicked a field goal?
He kicked a couple. It was 31 points we had, I think. So he did kick one field goal, and he kicked 4 extra points.
I'm gonna need that ball to get the Patriots Colts treatment. Make sure we underinflate that football. So those are the team. The breaking down the team injuries. So with that, I think we should get into the actual preview. So to start things off, like we always do, I like to go over the individual team stats. And before I do that, the storylines around this game are pretty obvious. Obviously, the most important thing is just the fact that this is the playoffs. This is win and go home. This is, then beyond that, Tyreek Hill, his return to Arrowhead. We got to play them earlier this year, but it being in Germany, two teams that don't feel great about each other, about where they stand. The Chiefs, they've had so many issues on offense recently, kind of limped over the finish line to win that division in the first place. And then with Miami Dolphins, you had the division won. You fumbled away with losing, three out of the last 5 games like we did. So both teams don't feel great about winning the Super Bowl, especially if the Dolphins, if you win, you then have to go over to Baltimore. In one way or another, likelihood is the Super Bowl runs through Baltimore. So whether that's the Chiefs or the Dolphins, neither team particularly feels great going into this game. We'll take a look first at the offensive rankings of the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's significantly worse than it usually is. And the most glaring thing is that they've struggled to find reliable work in the passing game. They're currently 15th in the NFL in points scored. Which is just something completely you never thought you ever hear from a Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid led Kansas City Chiefs offense. And they're 9th in yards. They the passing numbers on paper still look good, but it's mostly been issues with the passing game in situations. It's been Kadarius Toney lining up offsides. It's been MVS dropping passes in multiple other
Kadarius Toney dropping passes.
Yeah, multiple other Chiefs.
Travis Kelce dropping passes.
Yeah,
that's something you never thought you'd hear this year. But yeah, Travis Kelce dropping passes has been a real issue. Joshua asked, do you think the Dolphins have anyone who can stick with Travis Kelce? I believe Ramsey has covered him and had success covering him before.
We'll get that a little bit after this about the specific matchups.
Yeah, we'll go to the stats.
Like how we're going to attack Mahomes and whatnot, stuff like that. So the passing numbers still look good. They're sixth in the NFL in passing numbers. They pass the ball the second most times in the NFL, so the efficiency isn't quite there, and they have the eighth most passing touchdowns. Their rushing attack has gotten better, but it's never quite what the Chiefs want to do. They are currently 19th in the NFL in rushing yards. You go all the way down beyond that to the red zone stats, and it's solid. They get to the red zone the seventh most times in the NFL. They have the ninth most rushing touchdowns. They're 17th in red zone touchdown percentage, so that kind of makes sense when you look at this team. They can get to the red zone pretty well, but they're coming away with field goals more than touchdowns than you would like. And to win in Kansas City, we have to hold them to field goals. That bend don't break. We have to see that be there.
100%.
With this
in order to do that, so I think a major reason is because Travis Kelce hasn't been as much of a red zone threat this year.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to make sure that we keep him shut down. I think, they had a week off of actual games. I'm pretty sure him and Mahomes went back to the drawing board and, we're like, hey, we need to get on the same page. We need to be better. So I do think that that's going to be an emphasis for the Chiefs. So I think that needs to be an emphasis for the Dolphins. I believe their leading touchdown receiver is Rashee Rice, if I'm not mistaken. So we need to make sure that we're on him as well. A lot of his are run after catch, though, like little bubble screens, and then he runs it in.
Yeah, and what was this? The first,
very shifty.
This was like the first time in 6 or 7 years that Travis Kelce had a below 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, well, he had an opportunity. He had 7 straight, so it's the first time in 8 years.
Yeah.
But he had an opportunity to go over 1,000. I think he needed
16.
It was
16 yards, yeah.
Yeah, and they sat him for the last game of the season.
They saw Sam Laporta's knee go, and they're like, all right, let's not do that.
Even though they played at the same time? I'm pretty sure the Lions played at 4.
No, the Lions played at 1 o'clock.
Never mind. I apologize.
No, Kelce was only 5.
So that's probably exactly why they sat him then.
Yeah, you see another team's tight end go down. And then the rest of the offensive statistical stats, they allow the second least amount of sacks, but they do have the 7th most turnovers in the NFL. I read that right. Because last week I misread a stat. I'm sorry. I misread the sacks for the Buffalo Bills. Sue me. They've given up the second fewest sacks, but they have found the turnovers pile up a little bit this year. I think Patrick Mahomes is top 5 in interceptions, and a lot of that comes down to him just trying to force the ball to receivers who he
It's also
trust.
tip passes because his receivers, it hits him in the hands and then just flies up in the air. So that's another thing. I believe the Chiefs lead the league in drops. So like last week, how there was a tip pass and Eli Apple gave up on the play. Vic Fangio actually talked about it in his press conference today, how Eli Apple, once the ball is tipped, there is no pass interference. So he needs to be all over Trent Sherfield in that aspect, and he needs to continue. He did mention, real quick, you're not going to like this one, there was an ineligible man downfield that was not called on that play.
Stuff like that happens all the time, I'm sure.
I think it was an emphasis for Vic Fangio because they called ineligible man downfield like 3 times on us in that game. So it's for them not to get the call when it was the Bills offense, maybe a little bit into the rigging category. Obviously, I'm just kidding.
So the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which, we've talked about how there's been so many uncharacteristic things about this Chiefs team.
Yes.
And especially you look at the offense, and that's where the more glaring story is. But that's on a negative side, talking about the offense, and the defense is just completely different. This is one of the best defenses in the league this year. They give up the second fewest points per game at 17.3 points per game. They defend the pass really well. They defend the run decently. It's kind of more middle of the road on the run, which this Dolphins team that doesn't really bode well for us because we do get the majority of our yards from the air, use the air to set up the run. They give up the second fewest overall yards. They give up the fourth fewest passing yards. You move down to the rushing attack, and they do give up more big plays there. They give up the 16th most yards on the ground, but all across the board, this team is still very solid. They give up the third fewest touchdowns. They're great on third down, 10th best third down percentage, 7th best fourth down percentage. They don't let teams get to the red zone. They still can, they still give it up every now and then. They have the 11th fewest red zone attempts given up on defense. But overall, second fewest points per game is that's the most important stat, is the fact that they don't give up a lot of points. And this is a team in the Dolphins that we kind of need to start scoring more points recently.
Yeah, they held us to 2 touchdowns in the last matchup that we
Yes.
had. So, ironically enough, that was the 2 touchdowns were the last 2 scores of that game. And remember, we were in the red zone. I don't know how many times we were in the red zone, but I remember the fumble 6 by
Yes.
by
Tyreek.
Hill. A lot of Dolphins fans were unhappy with the whistle not being blown on that. I think it just is what it is.
I agree. Wow, what a mature answer by you. I'm surprised that's something you didn't complain about. I actually want to quickly go over what it looked like when we played them earlier this season. It was a 21-14 game. The defense only truly gave up 14 points because of that fumble return for a touchdown. Neither team
Sounds just like the Bills game, bro.
Neither team really, well, except the Bills dominated us. The Chiefs definitely by no means dominated us. Neither team felt great. Somebody had to win. They were up 21-0 at half. Didn't score a single point in the second half. It was a tale of 2 halves, but ultimately they were just able to edge us out. Tua finished with 193 and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes finished with 185 and 2 touchdowns. 93 rushing yards for them. 117 rushing yards for us. It wasn't great. It wasn't the best possible product that you could have been putting out on display. And when going over to Germany and showing the fans football, American football.
I forgot that Achane missed that game.
I forgot that too.
I'm looking at the rushing stats, and
He's not there.
yeah,
Mysteriously, he's not there.
Raheem Mostert had 12 carries for 85 yards, averaging 7.1 per carry, and having a touchdown.
Yeah.
Other leading rushers were Waddle and Tua.
Woohoo!
Savon Ahmed, that was the game that he got hurt.
His last game as a Dolphin, probably. There's no reason for him to be back on this team. There's no reason. We need a physical running back.
Chris Brooks is our physical running back.
Like I said, we need a physical running back.
Trust me,
A good physical running back.
Chris Brooks was playing a lot of fullback earlier in the year. He did lose me a little bit when he fumbled that handoff against Baltimore, but that just is what it is at that point.
Yeah.
We didn't really have, Tyreek was our leading receiver with 62 yards, followed by Waddle and then Jeff Wilson Jr.
Jeez. Yeah,
Jeff
so
Wilson had 3 catches for 32 yards.
yeah, it wasn't an ideal game for the Dolphins. It wasn't an ideal game for the Chiefs either. So looking at this matchup, the biggest thing that we're looking at is how are we going to get to Patrick Mahomes? Their offensive line is really good. They allow the second fewest sacks in the league, and we are down to practice squad guys, a guy who was inactive 2 weeks ago, and a guy that we just brought off the street. Like, how much confidence do you have that we're going to be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes?
The pressure's going to come from
It's going to have to. 10 sacks, hey.
Right behind him, though.
I was muted that entire time. I apologize. I was saying that the interior defensive line is going to have to get the pressure. Sack sealer is going to have to get sacks. Christian Wilkins, Vic Fangio was asked about him potentially moving to the outside a little bit. He played there a little bit with Brian Flores, and Vic Fangio basically said no, that he's having too good of a season on the inside to move him to the outside. Plus, on top of that, you would have Raekwon Davis in there and then have to rotate in Deshaun Hand. Like, it's just not ideal.
And they clearly don't trust, beyond Wilkins and Sealer, like, they haven't given trust to Raekwon Davis.
Raekwon has
He plays, but they don't trust him.
He's getting more snaps this year than he did last year, believe it or not. Like, it's really weird to say. Yeah, but because last year we ran a lot of 4 defensive ends. This year we're rotating in Raekwon, so he'll come in for Steeler for a couple plays, then come in for Wilkins for a couple plays. But more often than not, it's Wilkins and Steeler, and that's just the way Fangio runs his defense. If you look at the snap counts for everybody, it's the starters on every position getting like 80-90% of the snaps.
Raekwon Davis has 28 total tackles on the season. He has 9 more tackles than Justin Bethel, or Bethel, however you pronounce it.
Bethel.
Yeah, like we're going to have to rely extremely on the interior of this defensive line, and they just so happen to have a Pro Bowl center in Creed Humphrey, so you don't feel great about that. But
yeah,
the entire Chiefs' offensive line is pretty solid. Like they chose,
it's okay. Like,
they chose to spend their money on the offensive line recently instead of on receivers.
Yeah, because there's always talented receivers in the draft. That, like theoretically, they did get Rashee Rice, who like we talked about, is a little bit of a bright spot for them. However, their weakness on the offensive line would probably be Donovan Smith,
who's also going into the game with an injury.
He's been benched multiple times this season for the way. I'm not sure if it's false starts or if it's the way he lines up. But he gets that extra little kick. He lines up super wide when it's a pass play, and he has a pretty big tell when it's a pass play or a run play. He holds a lot too, so he is their biggest weakness on that offensive line. So I think we need to exploit that. But I also think we need to scheme up a lot of stunt plays to get guys open. I wasn't seeing a lot of that in the game against the Bills, given you can't really run that against Josh Allen with the way he moves.
Yeah, he's going to get to the outside before your guys have even crossed the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. So with Josh Allen, you can't really do that. With Lamar, you can't really do that. With Mahomes, though, he can move a little bit, but he's more often than not going to try to stay in the pocket and see his guys through.
He's quicker than all of your defensive linemen and linebackers, but he's just quick enough. He's just faster than Wilkins. He's just faster than whoever on earth we have on the outside, and that is going into the game as I think our biggest concern on defense, and then on offense. Who's going to play? Tyreek's going to play, but is he at 50%? Is he at 40%? Is he at 75%? God knows. Waddle, is he going to play? Is he at 10%? Is he going to be at 80%? Raheem Mostert, the offensive line, Teron Armstead's always hurt. Liam Eichenberg's on the injury list right now. There's so many injuries and injuries at key spots. And we looked at that injury list. It's all really good players on both sides of the ball. So what do you think with both the injuries, with the elements, with what we've seen recent, also just with struggles, what do you think this offense is going to look like?
It's going to be who can run the ball better, and that's going to be the epitome of this game, is who can run the ball better. And it's funny because the strength of our offensive line is probably our right side right now with Eichenberg at center, then Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson. Every one of those guys are banged up, but they're at least starters. On the other side, you have Robert Jones as our backup left guard. He's okay, but against Chris Jones, you can't have okay. And then at left tackle, you have Teron Armstead. He's been playing, pretty good this season when he's actually in there. Definitely a decline from last year. However, he has played more games, ironically enough. Yeah, so it's going to come down to the trenches, bro. And it's I want that to happen because I feel really good about our run game versus their run game and our run stopping versus their run stopping. Because if we can get to the second level on that defense, we'll be fine. However, it's getting to that second level that's going to be an issue with Chris Jones right there in the middle, probably the best defensive tackle in football.
That second half last week really concerned me for our offense. You come out and you have about 50 yards on 4 drives, had multiple punts, and we had the game in our hands. You go up, 14-7 going into the half. They have that play at the end of the half that could have really demoralized them. And then we got to stop on that first drive. We get the ball, and it just didn't do anything. And the offense scoring 0 points in the second half, when this team needs the offense to score with all the injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and the defense still played very well. You've been very critical this week of Vic Fangio. I don't think that's really warranted. They allowed 14 points.
I have been saying that. Like, I told you that at the end of, like, look, I know I'm very critical of Vic Fangio and all the yards that we gave up and all the time that they ate up. At the end of the game, they gave up 14 points.
Yeah. Which
And
they did last time we played this Chiefs team also.
Exactly. And that was the first game with Ramsey back, if I'm not. No, it was the Pats game the week before.
Second game.
So, yeah, so that was the second game with Ramsey back. And with Ramsey, we've been a really good defense points-wise. I mean, obviously, we're still giving up a lot of yards. But, yeah, the offense concerned me, like you said, in the second half. And Mike McDaniel talked about it. He abandoned the run way too quickly. You know, we stalled on that first drive. And, you know, it is what it is. But then they stalled on their drive. Then we got the ball back. And you got it to midfield. Then you had the false start by Teron Armstead. And then you had that catch that wasn't a catch by Tyreek Hill. I really couldn't tell from the Jumbotron. Probably
It was a drop.
It was a drop.
They reviewed it quickly. It was a quick review.
It wasn't that quick.
Relative to how a lot of them are, like they came back before the commercial break ended and did it.
I didn't.
There's like a minute left on that timer.
I didn't see it, but yeah. So I mean, I was very upset with how we didn't rush to the line. Like that's something that maybe Tua or the offense needs to like keep in mind. Like, hey, if it's a close play like that and you're not 100% sure, like Tyreek's a veteran. If you're not 100% sure that you caught that ball, you need to rush to the line. They took their sweet time. They were able to get the challenge flag out.
Yeah.
But then so that turned second and 1 to a second and 15. Then we had the ineligible man downfield.
Yeah. And the drive just completely.
And it just like completely stalled out. We got a little bit of yards back to then punt it to them. Then Cameron Good's knee exploded, causing Alec Ingold to trip over him and miss the tackle, causing the Red Sea to part.
There's a lot that went wrong.
Yeah, and then at that point, we felt it in the stadium. The energy just died on the Dolphins side.
It was completely on that other side.
Yeah,
with all those Bills fans.
And before that, the Bills fans were kind of quiet. Like the Bills, relatively, like because at the beginning of the game it was kind of like 50-50. Then it was more Dolphins. Like it was probably 75% Dolphins, 25% Bills fans, and then just completely flipped the script.
The last thing that I want to talk about before we give our predictions is the media's favorite person to talk about seeming like, and that's Tua. It's real. We have seen Tua shrink in a lot of big games and a lot of big opportunities. Starting with 2 years ago with that Tennessee Titans game, was played really poor. Last year, it wasn't really his play. It's more so he just his head was messed up. And then this year against good teams, like look at his numbers against good teams, look at his numbers against bad teams. Like it's a real thing.
So he's had opportunities. I believe the Chiefs game he had an opportunity to go down and tie it. The Eagles game, I believe we had an opportunity, and then they ended up scoring again after we stalled on a drive and put it out of reach. He had an opportunity in the Cowboys game. He came through, and then he had an opportunity in the Bills game. And now the interception I can't really put on him, like I said, because that was just a complete timing route. I don't think that play call should have been in there without Tyreek in there because, I mean, Claypool had played like 5 snaps that entire game. He does not play. He does not know that route clearly. That's why he doesn't play, because he does not. This is a very timing-based team, and that is something that in the last 2 minutes you can't be throwing those type of throws. You can't just let the ball go and trust that your receiver is going to be there 100% of the time, especially if it's not Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or even Cedric Wilson. Like, the play before that, I thought Tua did a very good job escaping the pressure, but he had Achane right there. Achane, toss it to him, he has the first down. He threw it deep to Tyreek Hill, a jump ball, he threw it a little bit too high, almost picked off. And it's just little decisions like that. Like, you have Achane there. The play call, that's on Mike McDaniel. Don't like that, the play after.
But
it
those
was
plays are the difference between winning and losing games.
100%.
And every single time that we do lose a game, there are those little moments, but ultimately it's a loss. And we haven't seen him perform on the big stage in an important game against a good team. I mean, since Alabama, really. I mean, yeah, and that was game he won the game, but he didn't win the game. Like we have Patrick Mahomes trademark games. We have Josh Allen trademark games where Lamar Jackson, where they put the team on their back and they go down and win. And Lamar Jackson really hasn't had to do it this year, but he has done it. He can do it.
Even C.J. Stroud this year.
C.J. Stroud multiple times. Dog, some of the throws he was making last week off his back foot, like where he had pressure in his face, was absolutely ridiculous.
And that's something. So C.J. Stroud even talked about this. At some point, you just got to be like, fuck it, someone's down there. So, give your guy an opportunity. And that's the thing about the Jags that we were talking about. Like, bro, T-Law fucking sucked because he didn't give the guy an opportunity. Tua, he gives Tyreek an opportunity. That's it.
That's literally it.
He doesn't give anybody else a real opportunity. It's like, I'm going to throw it here. Either you catch it or, you don't throw it up. Given we don't have guys like Nico Collins that can go up and get a ball.
But he also doesn't have that God-given strength, size, that certain advantages where, he could have played, like C.J. Stroud, if he had the body, he could have played almost any position on a football field because he's athletic, he's big, he's powerful, he's strong, he can move. Tua has one of the weaker arms. He's undersized, he's underweight. You look on an NFL field, if you take somebody who has never played the sport of football and you walk them out to the football field and you line up every single football player and you say, which one here plays football? Tua is not one of those guys getting picked. He's not an athlete. He relies on the things he does well, which is his accuracy and his ball placement. And when those things are clicking, it's great. And we win a lot of games. But when you have an elite pass rush, when you have an elite secondary, which you can see with a lot of these games that we've lost against good teams, that is the case. He's getting pressure in his face, or he's having a good secondary on the other end, and that's what we see here with this Kansas City Chiefs game. So
the pressure, I don't think is an issue.
How concerned are you with this Chiefs defense, and do you actually believe that Tua can finally, let me finish. God damn, you've done this whole stream. I wanted to murder you. How do you actually think that Tua is finally going to have a signature game where you can say Tua won us this game? Because we're going to need to with these injuries.
First of all, I thought you were done with your question, then you kept going. Anyways, Tua, I think he can. I think this is going to be the game. As far as the blitzes go, sir, Tua actually is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz. So the pass rush, that's not really that's
mostly based off of our passing scheme and just getting the ball out quickly rather than him evading defenders.
Well, yeah, that's him, hitting his guys that are open because you play man-to-man against this offense, and it's not going to turn out well for you. Steve Spagnuolo actually blitzed a lot against Tua last game, and the thing is that Tua didn't know where the pressure was coming from on those. Steve Spagnuolo is fantastic at disguising blitzes. And that is something that Tua is going to have to go into the film room and be like, okay, I got to be able to identify when a blitz is coming, where the blitz is coming from. And if I don't see it until the play is snapped, I need to know where my contingencies are pre-snap. So I need to know, okay, if this guy rushes me off of Tyreek, he has a safety right there. I can throw towards Tyreek, get it over this guy's head really quickly, make sure that Tyreek knows if this guy blitzes off of you that you need to stay short, catch the pass, and then make a play after the catch.
Yeah, that's good and all, but do you really think, truly in your heart believe, he is capable of having a game where he leads us to victory on his own?
I think that he has had games like that throughout his career. Now,
as a Dolphin?
As a Dolphin.
When? Arizona?
There was the Arizona game. I can even say the Atlanta game that we ended up losing because our defense couldn't make a stop. The Bills game in Miami last year.
No. We won the game. I'm not giving that to him. We won the game. I'm not. He came out and played well, but he didn't carry us to victory.
He came out the second half and was balling out with.
He played very well. He played very well.
He was balling. Come on.
I think I'd actually give that game more to the defense.
What?
Because it was what we've seen actually this year from this defense, where they gave up a lot of yards, but they held them when they got to the red zone. Because they should have won that game. Just if you look at every single statistical category, they should have won that game. The difference was we scored touchdowns and we stopped them from scoring touchdowns. No, but I'm not taking away from him. He didn't put the team on his back last year when he did that.
Tua has game-winning drives. We've seen him have a couple of, take the lead drives with, time still on the board, and then the defense ends up giving up that last score. We've seen a few times that happens. And I do think that Tua is capable of doing that. I think it's going to come down to the play calling, because you've said this plenty of times in the past. I'm going to quote you here. You are who your head coach is. And our head coach, he's kind of like a gimmicky guy. Like, we love Mike McDaniel.
He's a little weird.
And he's a little weird. He is also a second-year play caller. And, coming from Kyle Shanahan, who does choke a lot of leads in his career, that's who he's learning from. Like, you gotta break the pattern at some point. You need to let Tua loose. Like we saw in the Brian Flores era, when you let Tua loose, he was able to go and make throws. And I think that was, like I said, with that play call to Chase Claypool on that last play, that play call just it burns a cell in my brain.
I want to just run the ball on that play.
Honestly, because we had a minute 30 something on the clock, and we were already on their side of the field. I felt very good, very, very good about our chances of winning that game at that point.
I had given up at the end of the third quarter. I sat there.
The third quarter, we were still in the lead.
I know. Trust me, I know.
It was 14-7 at the end of the third quarter.
I know. I was watching how the game was going. We were not able to move the ball. They had moved the ball all game long, but they were just not finishing.
I was concerned about they weren't moving the ball in the third quarter either.
Yeah, that was the worst quarter. But
neither team moved the ball in that third quarter, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be who can put a drive together, because neither team put a drive together until that punt return for a touchdown. And then then we moved the ball to midfield again, and we never got it past midfield. Anyways, I want the ball to be in Tua's hand and be like, look, this playbook, your guys, like, do your thing. Like, if you want suggestions, I got you. But like in a 2-minute offense, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. You think that they had their offensive coordinators sitting there you have a designed 2-minute warning or 2-minute offense, but at certain times, you just got to take the reins, and we haven't seen Tua do that just yet, but we haven't seen him allowed to do that just yet. Now that could speak of, You like to dig a little bit more into that than I do.
There is a reason why we don't see Channing Tindall play. There's a reason why we don't see Cam Smith play. There's a reason why
don't even get me started on Cam.
There's a reason why the Tua isn't allowed to be given the reins.
We can bring in Gage, who is a Broncos Syndicate. He had Vic Fangio. He knows that Vic Fangio very much dislikes.
Bring back in the reins. That's not the point. The point is, I trust the coaching staff. I trust.
You trust the coaching staff a little bit too much.
I do.
They play Eli Apple over Nick Needham.
He got an interception. That was sarcasm. Mostly sarcasm. But no,
Yes.
Hey, well, we scored a touchdown that drive, didn't we?
No. We punted it.
Oh well. I trust the coaching staff, and especially it's been 2 different coaching regimes, 2 very different coaching styles that at the end of games, when we need to put together drives, we just can't. We're missing that throw. We're missing that big play. We're missing what we see from the offense when we're in the first and second quarter, or when we're playing the Washington Commanders. We don't see that happen in the fourth quarter when we need a touchdown. So,
like I was saying, in the Brian Flores era, in the last 2 minutes, pretty much when the game was out of reach, they let Tua go. They let him do what he wanted to do.
And also teams are playing playoff defense,
preventative defense. But that's exactly what the Bills were playing too. They were playing preventative defense. Yeah. Let him go and do his thing, because that's what they were playing. We played prevent defense in the end of the second half when the Bills were going, and we ended up stopping them. Let Tua go, because we have the personnel when we get down there to actually score. Like we have what, a 70-something% red zone conversion rate. We have the personnel. Achan, Jeff Wilson, they've been getting the job done. If you get down there with 45 seconds to go, why not run the ball one or two times?
Yeah, that percentage has gone down a little bit. It's at 65.5%, but it's gotten a little worse, but it's still second in the NFL.
We ended up having to go for it in the red zone against the Ravens a couple of times.
That's the last thing I want to say before we just get into the predictions is just I've seen this team time and time again fall short when the rubber hits the road, whether it's against a good team or whether it's situational football or whenever things are tough. We see this team and we talked about it on the last stream, the toughness about this team. It is something that's worth questioning. Whenever we get to that point where we need to make a play, whenever we need to drive, when we need to stop, when we need to score, whatever it is, time and time again, as a Dolphins fan, we've seen our team let us down. And this is going to be the ultimate test, going to an environment where you have a two Super Bowl winning, two-time winning with a head coach, quarterback in their house. The weather is crazy. So with that, it's been a pretty elongated preview. Got off topic there a little bit. How do you think the game's going to go?
19-16 Dolphins. 2 touchdowns scored the entire game.
Combined? Combined. Okay. I can get behind that as well, and kind of. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I mean, it's the weather. It sucks. And both teams, like second half of the season, particularly with us, and the entire season with the Kansas City Chiefs, like it's been a really good defense out on display for the Kansas City Chiefs. So even if the weather was good, like I'd still have concerns with this Miami Dolphins offense. So with the weather just adding on to that, like I'm really concerned how this offense is going to look.
I actually have a question. Do we know, because I saw someone commented on one of our other videos just now, that there's supposed to be a negative 17-degree wind chill. So what is the wind supposed to look like? Because I may change my prediction based off of the wind and the kicking situation.
Let's assume it's bad. Just across. All right,
everything's
bad.
I'm going to go ahead. Like, if the wind is bad, let's see, is it going to snow? We're looking up Kansas City's. We're looking up the weather in Kansas City right now for Saturday, because I know it's going to be cold, but, like, I don't know the extent.
I think it's not going to snow, but I'm not 100% certain. I'm pretty sure this, like we said earlier, it's got really cold in here. Talking about the snow, it just got really cold in here.
Yeah, AC set to like 67 or some shit.
Yeah. It's cold in my house for sure. Whatever it is, it's going to be rough.
I forgot it.
Whether it is snow or not, it's going to be rough.
Arrowhead Stadium, there we go. So on Saturday, look. So it's not going to snow.
No, I didn't think so.
It 0% chance actually.
Yeah, but everything else is gonna suck.
But it looks like
what's the winds?
It looks like it's gonna be 0 degrees low. Wind. Where's wind?
Like miles per hour. That's mostly what I'm concerned about. Is how quick is that wind gonna be going? Are we looking like 15?
Looking at a consistent 10 mile an hour. With a high of 26.
Yikes. Yeah. So are you adjusting your prediction based on that? What are we doing?
I am.
So?
Yeah, off of the wind alone, I don't think anybody's going to really be wanting to kick it with how much that wind is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that they're going to go for it on a couple of fourth downs in the other side. Both teams are. I'm going to go ahead and go 21-20 Dolphins with a missed extra point by Harrison Butker.
Look, guys.
To lose the game, I might add.
That's wild. That's a wild prediction. Look, guys, I sell myself on being honest and telling you guys exactly what I think. And the one time
I'm gonna step away.
The one time I was not honest. Was for the Baltimore Ravens prediction. And I sat here and said that I thought the Baltimore Ravens were going to win. as Donovan is about to eat some food or throw something at me. I can't tell which. Yeah, he's about to throw something at me. Hey, dude, that's hard. All right, don't throw that at me. So he's got a Hershey kiss, and he's also like point blank range now, whatever that is, Hershey nugget. Look, I lied when I said that we were going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. You already know where I'm going with this. I don't even know why you're bothering. Look, I don't think we're winning. Yeah, I don't think we're winning. I'm sorry. This team has really let me down. Like we had a really high in the beginning of the season, and losing to Tennessee was like a real low point. Getting destroyed by the Ravens, and then you still held your own destiny. That last game of the season, could have won the division, could have had a home playoff game, could have had 70-degree weather instead of 0-degree weather. Kansas City Chiefs, yes, they have their questions. This offense is not the same. This defense, though, is also not the same. And the offense right now is where I have more concerns about this Miami Dolphins team, which is something that I never thought I would say this season. I think it's going to be a brutal game. I think there's going to be like you said, missed extra points, missed field goals. I think there's going to be drop passes by the Chiefs. Either there's going to be missed passes by Tua because the timing's off, whether it's because of weather, whether it's because of injuries. And I think that's going to lead to an ugly 17-13 with the Kansas City Chiefs winning.
Yeah, I already knew that you were going to go with that. So you think Jason the Goat Sanders is going to miss an extra point? Or do you think it's going to be 2 field goals?
How do I add that around to make it like 6 safeties?
Six.
Not 6 safeties, but 6 points off of safeties.
6 points off
We're
of
going to do a
safeties.
touchdown and 3 safeties. No, we're not doing that.
If we get 3 safeties in a game and lose, it has to be a NFL record.
I think it'll be a touchdown and then like 2 chip shot field goals because I think that we're going to try to take our points where we can get it. Like instead, like let's say it's 4th and goal from the 5, like against that Cowboys, like we did against the Cowboys. I think we're gonna kick the field goal there. I can see us getting into the red zone, and because of injuries, possibly because of missing Raheem Mostert, we don't have that running back that can punch it in. Second most rushing touchdown, or was it the most touchdowns in the league, and second most touchdowns.
He has the most. He's tied for the most. Both of them ended with 21.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna just take our points when we get down there, especially because of the weather. Their offense isn't gonna be humming, but I do have us falling just short.
Yeah, it is going to be a rough game. So it is going to be cold. The passing. So what do you think of Tua electing not to wear gloves?
Please wear gloves. Little hand McGee over there. Little arm McGee.
He actually has bigger hands than Joe Burrow. Oh, Joe Burrow was actually knocked for not having small hands.
And Joe Burrow made a Super Bowl.
But, Joe Burrow also, he's throwing without gloves as well. He's not, Teddy 2 gloves or Kenny Pickett 2 gloves or how do you even I
can't imagine. We go play football all the time, and I wear my gloves while playing a receiver, and just throwing the ball back to the quarterback, it just feels weird.
So they actually have special gloves that the NFL makes for quarterbacks. It's very similar to receiver gloves, but they have certain points on them where it's not as sticky. Or it's stickier. I think the fingertips are stickier, but the palm is not as sticky, so that way it doesn't, stick. Something like that. I forgot exactly. It's been a while since I looked it up. But I think, we saw when the snow came down in Buffalo last year, he struggled.
When the weather outside is
but
frightful,
it was windy that entire game.
and the fire is so delightful. No, you were supposed to. I was just singing in between your pauses. You can keep going.
And I do believe that Tua will have a decent statistical game. And I say decent, I mean $180, $190, not turning the ball over.
Because in perfect weather, in a stadium that is kind of similar to Dolphin Stadium over in Germany, except it's rounded instead of that flat top. They each had 193 and 185. That was in ideal weather conditions, playing each other earlier in the season. It's not like they played against somebody else. They played each other. So we talked a lot about the Dolphins. All right, let's yap. Nick Saban, what the frick?
Dog.
Nick Saban just said, "Hey guys, it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday, my dudes. I'm out of here." Did not see that coming.
Not in the slightest.
I was talking to Liz. Liz is a really big Nick Saban fan. If you're still watching this, love you.
She is?
Oh yeah, she knows. Oh, hey, look, she's here. She said Don's mic. I'm sure your mic's still going in and out this whole time. I don't know. Liz is a very big Nick Saban fan, and she's quite devastated with the news. But what I said was he looked so tired after that last game, after the loss against Michigan. He looked like not defeated. He looked content with being tired. And once you get content with being tired, that's a dangerous life to live. When you're just okay with always being in just that feeling. And being a college football coach is way harder than being an NFL coach. The recruiting you have to do. They had to go do recruiting trips while preparing for this national semifinal game. While they're trying to get their team ready to play the number one team in the country, Michigan, with John Harbaugh, who has not lost a game all year, he had to go into Louisiana. He had to come over to Florida, into kids' houses, meet families, shake hands. Just the mental fortitude you have to go through as a college football coach. And it's only going to get harder with NIL. And he's seeing this. It is getting harder with NIL because guys can come to Alabama, or you can be the best player on Auburn and make $6 million. You can get the advertising deals, other places. You can make your money, be a highlighted player. Even down here in Boca Raton, look at FAU's basketball team. They're making money. I follow all of them on Instagram, especially in the offseason. They were just doing advertisement after advertisement, appearance after appearance. You can go everywhere, and that just further ramps up the recruiting process. So I understand why. And he's won 6 rings. I understand why he thinks it's time to be done. And he's the GOAT. Undisputed GOAT in college football history.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think he kind of takes a year off from coaching, maybe 2, and maybe tries to make a return to the NFL? He did have at least some success in the NFL, albeit very briefly and no playoff appearances, but he did win some games. No. He wasn't fired. He was, it was his own choice to leave. He didn't I guess actually, NIL might be a reason that he's leaving.
That's why
but think about the reason that he left the NFL. He left the NFL because control, and these players were getting paid millions of dollars, and maybe were a little prissy, uptight, but yeah, they.
Your girl's calling me. If I need help with something at work, she's probably closing right now.
Oh. I was like, who? Yeah, but I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, I think the whole money thing, maybe turns these guys into a little bit of divas. Who knows if that's actually true or not? Just maybe something on the back of my mind.
It definitely. I think there's a lot of factors. I think you're 100% right, and that is a thing. I don't think it's the thing. I think it's just so many things. Again, had the illustrious career. He's had so much success. He's coached in multiple college places. Had success both at LSU and at Alabama. Came to the NFL. Decided, I think I'm good. I'm gonna go back to college. He's had his success. He's had his ring. He's still young enough that he can still do stuff with his life and live a productive life. I really respect somebody walking away before they have to, before they're told to leave, right? Because where Belichick is right now, Bill Belichick is right now, we're kind of where Pete Carroll is right now. He was obviously let go today too.
Dude,
he's being told to leave. He's a little old. He still has that energy, but he's kind of turned into the grandfather of the Seattle Seahawks.
He's the Gino, grandpa.
Gino, we'll keep you. We'll give you this big contract that you don't deserve, and we're going to hurt the team next year because of it.
Actually, no, it was front loaded. So he's.
Is it front loaded?
It was front loaded, yeah.
We're going to keep everybody in house. We're going to make it. We're going to be fun. It's going to be nice. It's it's going to be a nice environment, and then we're going to lose and not make the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Rams, who are in the middle of a rebuild, just made the playoffs, and we both feel good about them potentially beating the Lions. He's lost that little sharpness. He still has the energy, but he doesn't have the cutthroat that you kind of need, especially in that division. The Cardinals are only going to get better, and then you have the Niners, the number 1 seed, and the Rams, who I can easily see getting to the conference championship game.
Yeah. I mean, there's also been like a lot of talk with former Seahawks players. Like we heard Richard Sherman. Russ talks very highly of him, but Russ is Russ. What else do you expect?
Yeah, politician.
Yeah. So, but like we've heard other Seahawks defensive players, even Bruce Irvin, talked about it. You know, how he was sometimes a little too protective of certain players.
Yeah.
And you know that being the downfall of certain dynasties. So, you know, a little bit too protective of Russ that caused the Legion of Boom to be the.
And I think he runs like just a little bit too loose of a ship.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
And it's very easy to do that in Seattle. Like, I mean, I got to go to a game earlier this year. Like, there was a true, like, family dynamic between the fans, the players. They honored the Super Bowl winning team that day, so the atmosphere was even more electric. Like, the Seahawks organization truly feels like a family that everybody's a part of. And, hey, I respect that. I'd love to see that. But you need an edge. You need some fear. Players don't really fear Pete Carroll. Now, players don't really fear Mike McDaniel.
I was just going to say that.
And that is a thing. That is a real thing. And we need a little bit of toughness. But our defensive line coach is like the only guy who's like got some like to him. Nobody else really does on this team.
And Vic Fangio, they call him like a cool uncle or something like that.
He looks like he's ready to go chill on the beach. Like he has some seriousness, but like, come on. And then with Pete Carroll, like that's not him. Like Nick Saban, that's what Nick Saban is to a T. But we've seen him like lose that a little bit over the years, and he just
it made him more likable. But it also, we saw how the team started to decline with that a little bit. You know, they went to how many straight national championships? I believe 4 or 5 straight.
Stupid amount. Even like even for not in a row, like stupid amount over
in the last 10 years, he's won 6 national championships.
Something stupid. Like
so
that.
And
he's had his success.
He's had his success. How many first-round picks he's had?
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. And then his starting quarterback this year, his OC didn't even like him last year.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien told him to stop playing quarterback. And so, let a naysayer know.
Yeah. Jeez. And I know this is not really a conversation that you can take part in because you don't really watch a lot of college football. I'm just so generally excited to see now what unfolds with the rest of the college football landscape. And Liz, we were talking about this on the phone when I was on my way over here. Hey guys, if you can get a girl who likes sports, greatest thing in the world. It just is. But now what happens with the rest of the college football landscape? I think, you look at Ohio State. They were thinking about firing Ryan Day. You absolutely unequivocally cannot fire Ryan Day now because you are not the most glamorous job on the market. Any given year, if Ohio State fires their coach, they are by far the number one destination. They're going to have all the eyes looking at them. They can get almost whoever they want, right? If you fire Ryan Day today, you are getting the next of the best. Whoever is the best on the market, whether that's Dan Lanning, whether that's Deion Sanders, whether that's Mike Norvell, right? There's so many good college coaches that if they want to move, they're going to Alabama. They're not going to Ohio State first choice.
Hear me out. Landing to Bama, Prime to Oregon, the enemy to Colorado.
No, I don't think.
Quote from our boy Jay, who works in college football.
He does work. He is aiming to be a coach, and hopefully he is one day. But no, landing to Alabama, I can see because he's a previous. He worked under Nick Saban before he got his job over there at Oregon. Deion to Oregon, no, that absolutely is not happening.
So I think the main reason for that. I think, and I didn't bring it up in the chat, but
Shador.
They
just got their quarterback over in Oregon.
What's that?
They just got Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. They just got their quarterback.
Besides that, I don't think the transfer portal would allow because Shador just transferred there. Travis Hunter just transferred there. Like, will all of these guys who literally just transferred for 1 year be allowed to transfer again and have immediate eligibility? The NCAA's been a little bit more lenient with the bigger names like that.
Yeah.
However, it could cause some ruffles.
And he's not going to be able, and he's not going to have, like, Oregon is an established program. Nike, they've won. They haven't won a lot recently. They're the team that always comes close. Like,
what were they this year? Like the 8th ranked team or something like that?
If they won their conference, they would have made the playoff. But they lost to Washington for the second time in the year. and they just fell short. Those were two of the most entertaining games of the season, right? But you're not gonna, if you're Deion Sanders, although yes, he's gonna have a lot of pull. He's still Deion Sanders. You're not gonna have quite as much of a chokehold on an entire college like he does at Colorado. Colorado won one game 2 years ago, right? Oregon is a national powerhouse. Recently, they've absolutely controlled the recruiting on the west coast of the country, even more so than USC, which is insane that Oregon, I drove past their campus. It's literally just off the highway in a town. It's just a college town. It's all it is. It's kind of like Gainesville here. It's just a college town. The only reason there's a town there is because of the college. You keep driving 20 miles north, 20 miles south, there's nothing there. And they have a chokehold on the West when it comes to recruiting recently. They don't have to have a Deion Sanders come in there and coach. They don't have to have somebody who they're going to give so much power to. They can take a Dan Lanning has a little bit of control over them. Like if he threatened to leave to Texas A&M or now Alabama unless they shelled out a bigger contract, they might be forced to do it, but they don't have to give the bend of the knees like Deion Sanders.
Dude, 5-star recruit Ryan Williams has decommitted from Alabama.
Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah,
no, that's the first crazy. Many. Now there's going to be a bunch of which that just wait and see what happens. About Alabama players tap in.
Look who posted it.
Shador.
Yeah.
And that's going to be real. Like there's going to be players transferring out of Alabama right now. If I was a kid that plays for Alabama, I'd wait to see because Alabama is still like a top destination as head coach, was what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, so I was trying to find the coaching news for the NFL as well. The Chargers just blocked the Giants' request to interview their special teams coordinator Ryan Ficken.
I mean, he probably was just they're looking was what the Giants hiring for defensive coordinator?
I don't know, but it's
they're probably
interesting.
Just trying to hire him for the same position.
While LA works toward finding its next head coach, they clearly hope Ficken is a part of the next coaching staff.
I want to talk more about college football.
That's crazy.
Because this
this
is so crazy, and I just wish you knew more about college football. Because who leaves? Because they're probably not gonna hire one of their current coordinators. Because this year's Alabama team.
It wasn't that good.
Well, it was still very good. They made the college football playoff. But I'm talking
obviously.
Specifically their coordinators. Every single year, they have a top 3 coordinator group. Saban has always surrounded himself with some incredible talent in his coordinators, all the way down to quarterbacks coach and to the little special coaches. But this was one of his weakest offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. This is one of his worst coordinator years he's ever had. So I don't think it's going to be one of the guys that were under him in this current regime, but you could see guys come back. You know who also just hit the market? Jimbo Fisher. He's a free agent. He got fired. So
Jimbo Fisher is not good.
You give him Alabama. You give him Alabama's recruiting pool. You give him the players that are already there. Now the biggest issue for Alabama is quarterback because Jalen Milroe.
Who is Jimbo just at though?
Texas A&M.
Exactly. That's also a big recruiting pool. Not as big as Alabama.
It's nowhere near as big as Alabama.
Well, Alabama's was built from the ground up by Nick Saban. So how
not exactly true because they still have an illustrious history of being Alabama.
Okay, but
he brought them back to glory.
Before Nick Saban got there, it was Colorado.
They were teetering, but
it was. Look, Colorado before Deion got there was
nowhere near the same thing.
Very close.
Colorado had won one game. Alabama was consistently a top 15 team before Saban got there. Colorado won one game the year before Deion showed up. It's not the same thing. And they're whoever they end up signing, it's going to be a top level coach.
I didn't know Saban was this old. He's 72 also.
Yeah, he is. He looks a little younger, but you see the hair starting to fade. I said to Liz earlier today who I could see end up going there. Last year's offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien.
That's also true. If Bill is out as coach of the Patriots, even if he's not, their offensive, I don't know where I was. Offense in general
could be done over.
Was completely. They were talking about if Bill stays, Josh McDaniels might be back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Josh McDaniels out? No, that'd be.
Josh McDaniels should not have a head coaching job anywhere. I'm not even sure if he should have an offensive coordinator job anywhere.
I'll wrap this college conversation off with this. Like, I love college football and I'm more knowledgeable than he is, but I'm still not like, NFL football is my top priority. Then, you go down the list of a few different sports, and college football is definitely up there, but I'm not as knowledgeable as college football as I really like to be, especially since I mostly cover FAU. If you want to watch some FAU content, go over to FAU Owl's Nest on YouTube or FAUowlsnest.com. But I think you looking at the candidates, I think, Jimbo Fisher has to be up there just because he is a free agent and he is available. Dan Lanning from Oregon is the spiciest name, previous Nick Saban coordinator. Ryan Day, I'd have some serious looks at Ohio State. Be like, how loyal truly are you to me? I have won so many games, and the only real thing you can say against me is that I've lost to Michigan, who just won the national championship. There's a lot of good talent out there. Are you going to say something on subject or something off subject?
On subject.
Okay.
With that being said, I think Ohio State's next head coach would probably end up being Brian Hartline. So you're really just promoting your next offensive coordinator again.
Yeah, I don't think they can promote, because I don't think they can fire Ryan Day right now, because you would have to do something. You wouldn't have to, but no matter what, you're going to get second choice to Alabama of all the guys who are currently available.
So I don't really know if this is even possible, but I know a lot of the reason that receivers go to Ohio State is because of Brian Hartline.
It's part of it, yeah.
And, now that he's offensive coordinator, they've got even more recruits across the offense because of him. From what I've been hearing, at least, about Brian Hartline, because, former Dolphin, I like to keep up with the former
matter.
Dolphins.
Like, Ohio State's a big brand, but they're going to get guys anyways, but coaches matter. Coordinators matter.
Brian Hartline... Flores. Could Brian Hartline potentially be in the mix for a head coaching job? Even if it's not Alabama.
Not Alabama.
I know Alabama probably wants an experienced head coach. That's the way they went with when they hired Nick Saban. He was a head coach at LSU, right? Was it LSU? Yeah. LSU before he went to the Dolphins, and then Dolphins to Alabama. Dolphins fans hate him mostly.
I don't.
I had that hate for a little while. I kind of just let it go.
8 years old.
That's part of the reason. The other part is that he's basically given us half our roster,
and as well as the rest of the NFL. He's a great coach.
He's a great college.
He's allowed to make whatever decision he
wants. It wasn't the decision itself. Is that
he said he wasn't going to.
Yes, instead of being like, I'm focused on the next game, on the next opponent, we'll see after the season, he was like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And the thing is, it's one thing to tell the media that. He told his players that.
Yeah. No, I understand the anger.
Yeah, but he did the same thing at LSU when he left for the Dolphins.
Yeah, but this was also 16 years ago.
Yeah, which is why, I can't hold a... I'm not...
It's the same argument why I don't care about the 72 team. Most of them are dead. That means nothing to me.
We'll get into this later, or not at all.
No, we've gotten into it many times. But
we've gotten into it many times because I don't want to get into it because it just makes me want to reach across.
Just round out the things I just said. I don't think it's going to be coordinator, but I think if it is a coordinator, that's the only way a young guy gets it, so Hartline out of the picture. If not him, Jimbo Fisher, Dan Lanning. On the subject of firing, do you think Belichick gets fired? Or do you think Belichick ends up not being the coach of the New England Patriots one way or another?
It's Wednesday.
My dudes.
It's Wednesday. If it's not today, if it's not tomorrow, I don't think it happens. I know sometimes they wait as late as Friday to fire people, but today is pretty much as late as what?
JPA just posted the scars of Jalen Phillips' Achilles surgery.
Let me see.
Pretty gross.
Ow. It healed up really nice.
It healed up. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, that
visual
that
proof
doesn't...
of why football players get paid a lot of money. They sacrifice a lot. That's gross. I thought it was going to be 6 weeks post-surgery and he's back on the field. I'm hold up, wait a minute.
No, they posted a picture of him walking in a walking boot, though, without crutches.
He'll be back week 13 next year. Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, Belichick.
Belichick.
What do you think's happening?
I want to lean that he's getting fired, or they're letting him go, or letting him walk, or whatnot. I don't think that's the case. I think if anything, like, if he's not staying as head coach, I think he takes the front office position, like Pete Carroll, very similar.
Do you think he wants to do that, though? And also, is he even good at that?
I mean, he's been their GM as long as he's been their coach, pretty much.
I think he could end up being a situation like Bruce Arians in Buccaneers, where they give him just give him a title, have him walk around the office. But also, Bruce Arians was...
That's going to be the same thing that they do with Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll is liked in that organization. Bruce Arians is liked in Buccaneers except for Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the reason he got fired, right? Belichick does not have that same pull. Him and Kraft have butt heads over the years. We know players aren't the biggest fans. We saw Amendola today, or whatever it was, say that, like, they
It was in that documentary, yeah.
Like, he said something along the lines of, like, Bill was in charge, but we played for Brady. Like, something along those lines.
Yeah, so it was in the Netflix, or not Netflix, but Apple TV Plus documentary. It was like a preview of that, and that little tidbit, it's like, damn, that's crazy.
Something along those lines. So with that, like, why do you want Belichick to linger around the building? Like, nobody likes him, and he also hasn't proven that he's that good in the front office.
It's also the fact that I agree with you. I think mainly the fact that he's been so good at controlling cap is that players wanted to go play for him. Now, given they also wanted to play with Brady, it's also the reason that, Tampa Bay had so many players, go that way. And they're still reaping the benefits a little bit this year of that. But yeah, regardless of that fact,
do you think he gets fired, or it's like
I think I'm gonna go 60% chance that he gets fired, 40% chance that he stays in some fashion with the organization, whether it's coaching. The thing is also with him, he wants to break Don Shula's record one way or another. So does he stop coaching? He is 71 years old, 72 years old, something along those lines. Like, and obviously he's been linked to the Chargers. But if you're the Chargers, if you're, one of these teams that has a good young quarterback, or you're looking for a good young quarterback, do you want a guy that's going to be there for only 2-3 years before passing it off to someone like Steve Belichick, his son, who's now their DC?
There's no chance the Chargers would pass off. Well, they're kind of dumb, so maybe they would.
Exactly. So, and Steve Belichick has been the DC there since Brian Flores pretty much left.
So, I think he's going to be fired. I think he's going to be let go in some capacity, but I think he's going to
mutually part ways.
I think he's going to keep coaching. I think Chargers is kind of an obvious. I think they're going to get Harbaugh. So if they don't get Harbaugh, then Vrabel or Belichick. In order, I'd actually go Harbaugh, Vrabel, then Belichick for the Chargers as who I would hire. But if the Eagles lose, why would they? What reason do you have to keep Sirianni? What has he done to prove that he is elevating this team?
This is true.
I want to say one more thing. Nick Wright made this point. If there's coaches out there, including Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel today probably got 15 phone calls in some capacity, whether it's coordinator, whether it's agents, whether that's teams, whatever it is. He's been just fired. He's probably gotten multiple phone calls from multiple people. If Sirianni's fired, who's calling that phone and asking him to be their head coach? And if the answer is 0, then why should he be your head coach? Especially the Philadelphia Eagles, who Howie Roseman has proven he can put together a damn good team like that. There's so much talent, and they are significantly underperforming. So, Zane, to answer your question, which was which NFL coach are you surprised that they retain their head coaching position? If the Eagles lose on Monday, I will be shocked that if they keep Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, and you know what? I did tell you before this season started, and you kind of like laughed in my face a little bit, because I do have some hot takes that are like hot garbage. But
yep, you do. You really do.
This one, like my Commander's take was hot garbage. I'll give you that.
This man said they were making the playoffs.
I was wrong. However, I did say the Eagles.
Man said he liked it. So not just you. You're not the only one at fault. Man said he liked that.
Yeah. I did say that the Eagles were going to struggle this year without having their two coordinators. And, they losing Shane Steichen to the Colts, and then losing Murr to Murr to the Cardinals. Damn, both C teams. I didn't even realize that. That's weird.
It's the angle, I promise. Although
it is definitely the angle. Solid.
the angle.
Solid 8 feet or 8 inches.
That's enough.
Hey.
Yo.
Pause.
Eagles, Sirianni.
Eagles, Sirianni. I don't know if I say he fire him, but he definitely becomes on the hot seat. I definitely would also say that if Mike McDaniel loses, his seat gets a little warm.
A little toasty.
A little toasty. You know, some reporters would definitely want to punch you in the face. Joe Shad pretty much spat in the fan's face for saying that on Twitter because
there was a little hot seat last year even. A little.
There wasn't, you know.
It was like temperature 2.
Yeah, but I think if he loses and it's in like a fashion like he lost the Bills game, I think that, you know, you turn the knob a little bit more. It's the play calling for me, and you know, the situational play calling at that. Only a second-year play caller. However, he needs to get significantly better, significantly quick.
I agree. I don't think he's going anywhere. But
back to the Nick Sirianni thing.
And also think about somebody like Zane. Otherwise, I'm still going to have an answer for you in a second. Also think about who you'd be surprised if that they've retained their head coaching position. But continue on with Sirianni.
Sirianni, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's let go. Howie Roseman has complete control of that team.
And as he should.
As he should. Like you said.
Best GM in football.
Best.
Hall of Fame GM. He's already a Hall of Fame.
I don't know if I go. Hey, look. He's put together. He's one of the best GMs in football right now. He's put together a fantastic roster, and he's traded for just player after player that they needed, and signed player after player that they needed. And he loves Georgia apparently, but
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. But yeah, I don't know if I put
loves
him.
the SEC.
SEC, yeah. Well, I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so.
And with that, it's just, I wouldn't be surprised either way if he stays. You know, he just went to a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that buys him at least a little bit more leg room. You know,
it does, but like look at Shane Steichen, like over with the Colts. He nearly took Gardner Minshew and a rebuilding roster to the playoffs. Look at the offense last year compared to what it is this year with the Eagles.
Look at the defense right now for the Cardinals. Like it's stepped up a lot throughout the season.
Look what the Cardinals looked like against the Eagles.
Exactly. So
take away that pick 6, like that game's, it's close, but like
it's not that close.
It's not as close. It's definitely not that close.
Exactly. And that pick 6 was just a complete miscommunication.
Yeah. And now he's out for the season with a torn ACL. What's his name? Who got the interception? But he's out for the season with a torn ACL.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, but like.
That's a knee slapper. That's a knee. Okay. So, is there anybody that surprised you that they retained their job? That comes to mind.
Let's see who I had. Okay, I did have.
Because I expected Arthur Smith to keep his job, and that was the person who was expecting to say, like, dang, I'm surprised they got their job.
Well, let's see. Staley got fired. McDaniels got fired.
Eberflus.
I wasn't shocked.
I wasn't shocked, but if it's anybody, they cleared house on the coaching staff. But you
they didn't clear the defensive side. They cleared the offensive side. They cleared the both sides of the ball on who was it? It was
the Bears.
No, it wasn't the Bears. There was a team that they cleared house on both the offensive and defensive sides. Oh, the Jags.
Ooh,
Doug Peterson.
I have another good answer for actually this. I don't know if I'm surprised.
Doug Peterson fired both offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and cleared house on both sides of the football and kept his job. That's what Jay was referring to when he was talking about why clear house on both sides of the ball and keep your head coach.
Peterson, I trust more. He's actually won a Super Bowl, and Yes,
with Howie Roseman.
They collapsed this year, but I think I'd give him another year. Somebody who I could have really seen get fired, and he's still a good coach, but things aren't going like they should be, is Brian Dable. Look, so
He was only in his second year.
We've seen teams
But
fire coaches with less with less time on their hand. Hear me out. I don't know. I forget who made this point. It might have also been Nick Wright. I like that show. First Things First, I think that's what it's called. I really like that show.
Nick Wright, I either agree with his take completely or disagree so hardly.
I like his. I really enjoy like talk shows. So I really enjoy like his style. I enjoy his way of talking, and I love him, Chris Broussard, Wiles, and then whether it's Greg Jennings, whether it's Mangini. Mangini, actually, I don't like Mangini, but I think it might have been. Nick Wright that said it, or one of the people on that show. It's like when you have a player that like has an outburst every now and then, like Stephon Diggs will, like at the end of the season, like Patrick Mahomes did. It's like, okay, you work with it, but when that's coming from your head coach, where he's just losing his mind on the sideline as often as Brian Dable is. And look, that Giants team sucks. I'd be pretty pissed too if I was coaching that team. But you hear what happened with Wink Martindale as he was leaving.
Oh yeah, he cursed out Brian Dable and then stormed out the building.
He is being really fickly, and he's.
But there's also a reason.
People.
There's also a reason that Wink Martindale was fired from the Ravens.
There is, but he's still a good coach, and
I would definitely bump him out of my top. I would bump him out of my top 15 of coaches.
That's not even like my like. Oh, it's because of Wink Martindale, like how he did that. That's my reason. Like no, like he loses his mind too much for a head coach. Like
I don't think so.
Like Mike McDaniel doesn't do it enough. I feel like every time they look over to Brian Dable, he is just going berserk. And like, look, if I was the coach of the New York Giants, I'd be losing my damn mind too, because there's not a lot of talent. You're stuck with a $40 million quarterback who's not worth it. He gets hurt.
He didn't
Ben
even
DiNucci
want Daniel Jones.
What?
He didn't. He's like, I want him
lacks
to
some
like.
composure. And when you're on a losing team, and when you have a personality that rubs people the wrong way, you get the benefit of the doubt less. You made the Super Bowl, or not Super Bowl, you made the playoffs last year, which basically was
You won a
Super Bowl.
game.
You won a game on the road, and now you've regressed to the point where there was talks about them. Maybe they should just give up on the season and go for the number one overall pick. You get less leeway. So I wasn't surprised that he kept his job, but if there was somebody that would have kept their job that I could see getting fired, it might be him and Eberflus.
I could definitely see where you're coming from, but also look at what he did with the team with Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor. Like they still went in, like won 2 games with Tommy DeVito. Now, given I think he got benched a little bit too quick for Tyrod Taylor.
I would have started Tyrod Taylor as soon
I would have started Tyrod Taylor as soon as he was healthy, but if you won a game, 2 games with Tommy DeVito, and then you don't even let him finish out his 3rd game and let him lose that game. Like, you're already out of the playoffs. Like, what do you, like, let the kid, continue playing. Why yank him coming off of 2 wins? And then, Tyrod ends up getting hurt again, story of his career. If he could stay healthy, he would have one of the most.
He was just drafted 10 years too early.
He was drafted 10 years too early, and his injury history is just horrific.
If you drafted him today, especially when he was younger, when he had more mobility to him, tell me why he's not Jalen Hurts. Tell me the difference between young Tyrod Taylor. Are we being too loud?
I don't know. Let me see.
Oh, no, actually, maybe just go ahead and end it. But yeah, I think I'm really curious to see who is out the door. We might be a little bit too loud. Oh. We have the police here. Yeah, the police are here looking for somebody named Gene. This is Miami Dolphins Syndicate first here. I thought we got a noise complaint. I mean, I'd be a bit aggressive. That'd be a bit aggressive for a noise complaint to call the cops straight instead of getting a building manager. We just had the cops show up.
That was a first.
That's a stream first. Wow. With that
That's
though,
crazy.
I think I'm so hungry. I think we should call it there.
Bob G's?
Huh?
Bob G's?
No, I want.
Chick-fil-A.
No, Chick-fil-A's closed. Honestly, I've been looking at that Wendy's bag this whole time. I'm like, you know what? Kind of feeling.
We can take the side road.
We could. But that is it for us here today, Donovan, Jacob, in a location that hopefully we'll get used to being here, especially once this fills out and I don't have to lug this damn chair out of my room and like have to hump it into my car. Oh my gosh, I'm sure it was a sight. Live PD action in Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Yeah, like I mean, I didn't see her. Donovan was talking to her. Yeah, I was like, damn, what did we do?
You didn't get it.
What? Oh, you fancied her? Oh, you should have gave her your number.
Business card.
Hey, like if anything actually wrong, let me know. Like let me come help. Oh yeah, for sure. Instead of knocking on the wrong door, looking for Gene. Hopefully Gene.
Oh, you heard
okay.
that? It echoes in here. So.
No, I was able to hear that though. Yeah, so we had a Miami Dolphins first. Miami Dolphins get it first. We had the cops called. Thank you all for tuning in. Zane, appreciate you as always. Greetings from South Florida. Greetings also from South Florida. Liz, love you. Joshua B, pretty sure you said you were a Bills fan at some point.
He did.
Yeah. Bills fan for 33 years. So look, appreciate you hanging out and talking with us. Not sure if you're still here. Alex, earlier on the stream. Appreciate all y'all very much for watching. As y'all see, we have finally made it to 1,000 subscribers.
Almost 1050.
Almost 1050. There's been a lot of love on the channel recently, so we appreciate y'all very much for tuning in and watching and supporting. We are far from done. We have been talking a lot more recently about some stuff that we think to do in the off season, which unfortunately might come sooner rather than later. So these live streams, we still plan on carrying them out. Maybe like a little less frequently in the off season, but we definitely still plan on doing it.
At least once a month or every other week.
Yeah, so that we'll figure out as we come, and definitely even like maybe let's say the Dolphins lose, we could just do a regular NFL podcast these next few weeks and just talk about that.
Why not?
I mean, we've been going for over 2 hours, and the last hour that's basically what we've been doing. But that's it. I know all of y'all that are in here probably are subscribed, but if you're not, or if you're watching this in post, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. We appreciate y'all very much. You can go ahead and get up to go turn off the stream so I don't have to sit here in awkward silence. Because, the computer is in a room away. Like, these wires. Like, he could...